Good evening. My name is Stuart Fisher. Tonight, the Just the Stage I'm Going Through production group presents the play An Enemy of the People by Henrik Ibsen, originally produced in Norway in 1882. You will witness what happens when Dr. Thomas Stockman, member of the committee that has constructed medicinal baths for the economic benefit of his town, discovers that the baths are dangerous to health and tries to shut them down. Dr. Stockman learns that arguing what is right may face hostile reactions from the public if their economic well-being is threatened. Of course, you'll also see in this play that Dr. Stockman's method of persuasion leaves a lot to be desired. None of the major characters in the play are completely blameless here. And, well, if you see any similarities to this play and recent events, well, so do I. I will now ask our cast to come on camera and introduce themselves. I will be playing Dr. Stockman.
My name is Emlyn Altman, and I will be playing Mrs. Katherine Stockman.
My name is Sam Klarner, and I will be playing Petra.
My name is Joann Robertson, and I'll be playing Peter Stockman.
Hello, I'm Bill MacDonald, and I will be playing Hovstad.
Hi, I'm Jo Rake, and I will be playing Aslakson.
Hi, I'm Jana Frances-Fischer, and I'll be playing Billing.
Good evening. I'm Ed Silverstein, and I will be playing Morton Kiil.
Hello, I'm Steve Swift, and I'll be playing Captain Horster.
Hi, I'm Sonny Oberlais, and I will be playing on Ensemble.
Hi, I'm Nick Manicone, and I'll be playing Ensemble.
And I'm Terri Hobson, and I will also be Ensemble.
Thank you very much. I now ask you all to turn off your videos and get ready for the performance. In addition to, I'll be playing Dr. Stockman. I think I said that already. In addition to playing Mrs. Stockman, Emlyn Altman is our sound designer and executor, so she's done a lot of work on this production. Now, sit back and relax as we begin our production of Henrik Ibsen's Enemy of the People.
You see, if you come an hour late, Mr. Billing, you have to put up with cold meat.
It is uncommonly good. Thank you. Remarkably good.
My husband makes a point of having his meals on time, you know.
Well, that doesn't bother me a bit. I almost think I enjoy a meal better when I can sit down and eat it all by myself, undisturbed.
Oh, well, as long as you're enjoying it, I expect that Mr. Hovstad is coming too.
Very likely.
Oh, good evening, Katherine.
Good evening. How good of you to come up and see us.
Oh, I happen to be passing, and so... But you have company, I see.
Oh, no, it was quite by chance he came in. Won't you come in and have something too?
No, thank you. Good gracious, hot meat at night. Oh, not with my digestion.
Oh, but just once in a while.
No, my dear lady. I stick to my tea and bread and butter. It's much more wholesome and a little more economical, too.
Now, you mustn't think that Thomas and I are spendthrifts.
Oh, not you, my dear. I would never think that of you. Is Thomas not home?
Oh, no, he went out for a little walk after supper.
I think I hear him coming now.
No, I don't think it's Thomas. Come in. Oh, it's you, Mr. Hovstad.
Yes, I hope you will forgive me, but I was delayed at the printers. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. You have come on business, no doubt?
Partly. It's about an article for the paper.
So I imagined. I hear my brother has become a prolific contributor to the People's Messenger.
Yes, he is good enough to write in the People's Messenger when he has any truth to tell.
I don't blame him as a writer for addressing himself to an audience where he will find more sympathy. And besides that, I personally have no reason to bear any ill will to your paper, Mr. Hovstad.
I quite agree with you.
There is an excellent spirit of tolerance in our town, an admirable municipal spirit, and it all springs from the fact of our having a great common interest to unite us, an interest that is in equally high degree the concern of every right-minded citizen.
The baths, yes?
Exactly. Our fine, new, handsome baths. Mark my words, Mr. Hovstad. The baths will become the focus of our civic life. No doubt about it.
That is just what Thomas says.
Think how extraordinarily the place has developed within the last year or two. Money has been flowing in, and there is renewed life and business opportunities in the town. Real estate is rising in value every day.
And unemployment is going down.
That's another thing. There is less need for subsidies to the poor. The tax rates have been lightened to the great relief of the property classes. And that relief will be even greater if only we get a really good summer this year and lots of visitors, plenty of invalids who will publicize the baths.
And there is a good prospect of that, I hear.
It looks very promising. Inquiries about apartments, that sort of thing, are reaching us every day.
Well, the doctor's article will be quite timely.
Has he been writing something recently?
This is something he wrote in the winter, a recommendation of the baths, an account of the excellent sanitary conditions here. But I held the article over temporarily.
Some little difficulty about it, I suppose?
No, not at all. I thought it would be better to wait until the spring, because it is just at that time that people begin to think seriously about their summer plans.
Good point. You are perfectly right, Mr. Hovstad.
Yes, Thomas is really tireless when it comes as a question of the baths.
Well, remember, he is the medical officer to the baths.
And what is more, they owe their existence to him.
To him? Well, it is true. I have heard from time to time that some people are of that opinion. At the same time, I must say, I imagine that I took a modest part in the enterprise.
Well,
Yes,
who denies it, Mr. Mayor? You got the thing going and made a practical concern of it. We all know that I only meant that the idea of it first came from the doctor.
Oh, ideas, yes. My brother has had plenty of ideas in his time, unfortunately. But when it isn't better, it's a question of putting an idea into practice. You have to apply to a man of a different mettle, Mr. Hovstad. And I certainly should have thought that in this house, at least, they would...
My dear Peter!
How can you think that?
Won't you go and have something, Mr. Hovstad? My husband is sure to be back directly.
Thank you. Perhaps just a bite.
It is a curious thing that these farmers' sons never seem to lose their lack of tact.
Surely it is not worth bothering about. Can't you and Thomas share the credit as brothers?
I should have thought so, but apparently some people are not satisfied with a share.
What nonsense! You and Thomas get along so well together. There he is at last, I think.
Look here. Here is another guest for you, Katherine. Isn't that wonderful? Come in, Captain Horster. Come in, hang your coat up on this peg. Oh, just think, Katherine, I met him in the street and could barely persuade him to come up. Come along, Captain Horster. You must have a slice of beef.
But, Thomas, don't you see?
Oh, it's you, Peter. Oh, now that is very delightful.
Unfortunately, I must go in a moment.
Nonsense. There's some toddy just coming in. You haven't forgotten the toddy, Katherine.
Oh, of course not. The water is boiling now.
Toddy too?
Well, yes. Sit down and we'll have it in comfort.
Thanks. I never care for an evening of drinking.
Well, but this isn't an evening of drinking.
Seems to me it is.
Peter, I am so heartily happy and content. You know, I think it is such an amazing bit of good fortune that to be in the middle of all this in life. It's a wonderful time to live in. It's as if a whole new world were being created around one.
You really think so?
Oh, naturally. Well, you can't appreciate it as much as I can. You've lived all your life in these surroundings, and your impressions have been dulled. But I, who have been buried all these years in my little corner up north, almost without ever seeing a stranger who might bring new ideas with him. Well, in my case, it has just the same effect as if I had been transported into the middle of a crowded city.
Oh, a city.
I know. It's all cramped enough here compared with many other places, but there is life here. There are so many things to work for and fight for. That is the main thing, Katherine. That's the main thing. Katherine, hasn't the postman been here?
No!
I meant to be comfortably off, Peter. That is something one learns to value when one has been on the brink of starvation as we have.
Surely, no, you don't know.
Oh, indeed, I can assure you we have often been very hard up. And now to be able to live like a king. Oh, today, for instance, we had roast beef for dinner. And what is more, for supper too. Won't you come and have a little bit, Peter? Or let me show it to you at any rate. Come on.
No.
Okay, well, just come here and see that we have got a tablecloth.
Yes, I noticed it.
And we have got a lampshade too. Do you see? All out of Katherine's savings. It makes a room so cozy, don't you think? Just stand here for a moment. No, I'm not there. Stand there. That's it. Now look now, when you get the light on it all together, I really think it looks very nice, doesn't it?
Oh, well, if you can afford luxuries of this kind.
Yes, I can afford it now. Katherine tells me I earn almost as much as we spend.
Almost, yes.
But a scientific man must live in a little bit of style. I'm quite sure an ordinary civil servant spends more in a year than I do.
Oh, yes, a civil servant, a man in a well-paid position.
Well, an ordinary merchant then. A man in that position spends 2 or 3 times as much as we do.
It just depends on circumstances.
At all events, I assure you I do not waste money for no reason. But I can't find it in my heart to deny myself the pleasure of entertaining my friends. I need that sort of thing, you know. I have lived for so long, shut out of it all. It is a necessity of life for me to mix with young and eager, ambitious men of liberal and active minds, and to describe every one of those people who are enjoying their supper in there. I wish you knew more of Hovstad.
By the way, Hovstad was telling me he was going to print another article of yours.
An article of mine?
Yes, about the baths, an article you wrote in the winter.
Oh, that one. No, I don't intend that to appear right now.
Why not? It seems to me that this would be the most opportune time.
Well, yes, very likely, but under normal conditions.
Is there anything abnormal about the present conditions?
Well, to tell you the truth, Peter, I can't just say at this moment, or at least not tonight. There may be much that is very abnormal about the present conditions, and it is possible there may be nothing abnormal about them at all. It's quite possible it may just be my imagination.
I must say it all sounds most mysterious. Is there something going on that I should know about? I should have imagined that I, as chairman of the governing body of the baths...
And I should have imagined that I... Oh, come on, don't let us fly out at one another, Peter.
Heaven forbid! I am not in the habit of flying out at people, as you call it, but I am entitled to request most emphatically that all arrangements shall be made in a businesslike manner through the proper channels and shall be dealt with by the legally constituted authorities. I cannot allow you to go behind our backs by any roundabout means.
Have I ever at any time tried to go behind your backs?
You have a natural tendency to go your own way at all times, and that is not appropriate in a well-ordered community. The individual ought undoubtedly to acquiesce or subordinate himself to the community, or more accurately, to the authorities who are responsible for the community's welfare.
Very likely. But what has all this got to do with me?
This is exactly what you never appear to be willing to learn, my dear Thomas. But mark my words, someday you will have to suffer for it, sooner or later. Now I have told you. Goodbye.
Have you taken leave of your senses, Peter? You are on the wrong trail altogether.
I am not usually that. You must excuse me now if I... Good night, Katherine. Good night, gentlemen.
Has he gone?
He's on his way out. He's in such a bad temper.
Oh, but dear Thomas, what have you been doing to him again?
Nothing at all. And anyhow, he can't force me to make my report before the proper time.
What have you got to make the report to him about?
Leave that to me, Katherine. It's so unusual that the postman hasn't come.
One feels like a new person after a meal like that.
The mayor wasn't in a very good mood tonight then.
It's his stomach. He has horrible digestion.
I rather think it was the two of us of the People's Messenger that he couldn't digest.
I thought you came out of it pretty well with him.
Oh, yes, but it isn't anything more than a sort of truce.
That is just what it is. That word sums up the situation.
We must remember that Peter is a lonely man. He has no home comforts of any kind, but nothing but everlasting business. And all that awful weak tea he pours into himself. Oh, are we going to have that toddy, Katherine?
I'm just getting it.
Sit down here on the couch beside me, Captain Horster. We almost never get to see you. Please, please sit down, my friends.
There you are. This is a rock, and this is rum, and this one is the brandy. Now everyone must help themselves.
We will. To your good health. It's good. It's good to be sitting snug and warm here.
Do you sail soon, Captain Horster?
I expect to be ready to sail next week.
I suppose you're going to America?
Yes, that is the plan.
Then you won't be able to take part in the coming election.
Is there going to be an election?
Didn't you know?
No, I don't mix myself up with those things.
But don't you take an interest in public affairs?
No, I don't know anything about politics.
Well, all the same, one ought to vote at any rate.
Even if one doesn't know anything about what is going on?
Doesn't know? What do you mean by that? A community is like a ship. Everyone ought to be prepared to take the helm.
Maybe that is all very well on shore, but on board ship, it wouldn't work.
It is astonishing how little most sailors care about what goes on shore.
Unbelievable.
Sailors are like birds of passage. They feel equally at home in any latitude. And that is only an additional reason for our being all the more attentive, Hovstad. Is there to be anything of interest, a public interest in tomorrow's messenger?
Nothing about municipal affairs, but the day after tomorrow I was thinking about printing your article.
My article. Look, that must wait a bit.
Really? We had just got convenient space for it, and I thought it was just the right moment.
Well, yes. Very likely you're right, but it must wait all the same. I'll explain it to you later.
Good evening.
Oh, good evening, Petra.
And you have all been sitting here enjoying yourselves while I have been out slaving.
Well, come in here and enjoy yourself too.
May I mix a glass for you?
Thanks, but I would rather do it. You always mix it too strong. But I forgot, Father, I have a letter for you.
A letter? From whom?
The postman gave it to me just as I was going out.
And you only give it to me now?
I really had not time to run it up again. Here it is.
Let's see. Let's see it, child. Yes. This is it, all right.
Is this the one you've been expecting so anxiously, Thomas?
Yes, it is. I must go to my room now, and where shall I get a light, Katherine? Is there no lamp in my room again?
Yes, your lamp is already lit on your desk.
Good. Excuse me all for a moment.
What do you suppose it is, Mother?
I don't know. For the last day or two, he has always been asking if the postman has not been here.
Oh, probably some country patient.
Poor old Dad. He will overwork himself soon.
Have you been teaching in the evening school again today?
2 hours.
And 4 hours of school in the morning?
5 hours.
And you have still got exercises to correct, I see.
A whole heap, yes.
You're pretty full up with work too, it seems to me.
Yes, but that is good. One is so delightfully tired after it.
Do you like that?
Yes, because one sleeps so well then. If I only had the means, I would start a school of my own.
Well, if you are thinking of that, Miss Stockman, I should be delighted to provide you with a schoolroom. The big old house my father left me is standing almost empty. There's an immense dining room downstairs.
Thank you very much, but I'm afraid nothing will come of it.
No, Miss Petra is much more likely to take to journalism, I expect. By the way, have you had time to do anything with that English story you promised to translate for us?
No, not yet, but you shall have it soon.
Well, 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 well. Now we shall have, the town will have something new to talk about, I assure you.
Something new?
What is this?
A great discovery, Katherine.
Really?
A discovery of yours?
Discovery of mine. Just let them come now, saying as usual that it is all fantasy and a crazy man's imagination. Oh, but they'll be careful what they say this time. I can tell you that.
But Father, tell us what it is.
Yes. Only give me time. Oh, and you shall know all about it. If only I had Peter here now. Well, it just shows how we men go about forming our judgments when in reality we are as blind as any moles.
What are you driving at, Doctor?
Isn't it the universal opinion that our town is a healthy spot?
Certainly.
Quite an unusually healthy spot, in fact. A place that deserves to be recommended in the greatest possible manner, either for invalids or for people who are well.
Yes, but my dear Thomas.
And we have been recommending it and praising it. I have written, both in the messenger and in pamphlets.
Well, what then?
And the baths, as we have called them, the main artery of the town's lifeblood, and the nerve center of the town, and heaven knows what else.
The town's pulsating heart was the expression I once used on an important occasion.
Right. Well, do you know what they really are? These great, splendid, much praised baths that have cost so much money? Do you know what they are?
No, what are they?
Yes, what are they?
The whole place is a pest house.
The baths, Father?
But Doctor!
Baths?
Yes, the whole bath establishment is a whited, poisoned gravestone. I tell you,
Absolutely incredible.
the gravest possible danger to the public health. I mean, all the nasty discharges up at Moladal, all that stinking filth is infecting the water and the conduit pipes leading into the reservoir. And the same cursed and filthy poison oozes out on the shore, too.
Where the bathing place is?
There.
How can you be so certain of all this, Doctor?
I've investigated the matter most conscientiously. For a long time past, I have suspected something of this kind. Last year, we had some very strange cases of illnesses among the visitors. Typhoid cases and cases of gastric fever.
Yes, that is true.
Well, at the time, we supposed the visitors had been infected before they came here. But later on, in the winter, I began to have a different opinion. And so I set myself to examine the water as well as I could.
Then that is what you have been so busy with.
Indeed, I have been busy, Katherine. But here I had none of the necessary scientific apparatus. So I sent samples, both of the drinking water and of the seawater, up to the university to have an accurate analysis made by a chemist.
And have you got that?
Here, it's in this letter. It proves the presence of decomposing organic material in the water. It is full of infusoria. The water is absolutely dangerous to use, either internally or externally.
What a mercy you discovered it in time.
You may well say so.
And what do you propose to do now, Doctor?
Well, to see the matter put right, naturally.
Can that be done?
Oh, it must be done. Otherwise, the baths will be absolutely useless and wasted. But we need not anticipate that. I have a very clear idea what we shall have to do.
Well, why have you kept this all so secret, dear?
Do you suppose I was going to run around the town gossiping about it before I had absolute proof? No, thank you. I am not such a fool.
Still, you might have told us.
Not a living soul. But tomorrow you may run around to the old badger.
Oh, Thomas!
Oh, right, to your grandfather then, Petra. The old boy will have something to be astonished at. Well, I know he thinks I'm cracked. And there are lots of other people who think so too, I've noticed. But now these good folks shall see. They shall see. There will be a nice brouhaha in the town, Katherine. You cannot imagine what it will be. All the conduit pipes will have to be relayed.
All the conduit pipes?
Well, yes, of course. The intake is too low down. It will have to be lifted to a position much higher up.
Then you were right after all.
Ah, you remember, Petra. I wrote opposing the plans before the work was half begun. But at that time, no one would listen to me. Well, I am going to let them have it now. Of course, I have prepared a report to the Baths Commission. I have had it ready for a week and was only waiting for this letter to come. Now it shall go off at once. Look at that. 4 closely written sheets. And the letter will go with them. Give me a piece of paper, Katherine. Something to wrap them up in. All right, that will do. Now, give it to, what is her name? Give it to the maid and tell her to take it at once to the mayor.
What do you think Uncle Peter will say, Father?
What is there for him to say? I should think he would be very glad that such an important truth has been brought to light.
Will you let me print a short note about your discovery in the messenger?
I shall be very pleased if you will.
It is very important that the public should be informed of it without delay.
Certainly.
She has just gone with it.
Congratulations, Doctor. You are going to be the most important man in town.
Oh, nonsense. As a matter of fact, I've done nothing more than my duty. I have only made a lucky find. That's all. Still, all the same.
Hovstad, don't you think the town ought to give Dr. Stockman some sort of testimonial?
I will suggest it anyway.
And I will speak to Aslakson about it.
No, my good friends. Don't let us have any of this nonsense. I won't hear anything of the kind. And if the Baths Committee should think of voting me an increase on salary, well, I will not accept it. Do you hear, Katherine? I will not accept it.
Well, you're quite right, Thomas.
To your health, Father.
Your health, Doctor.
Good health.
I hope it will bring you nothing but good luck.
Thank you, my good friends. I feel tremendously happy. It is a splendid thing for a man to be able to feel that he has done a service to his native town and to his fellow citizens. End of Act 1. Act 2.
Are you in, Thomas?
Yes, what is it?
It's a letter from your brother.
Let us see. I'm returning the manuscript you sent me.
What does he say?
Now, he only writes that he will come up here about noon.
Well, try and remember to be at home this time.
That will not be a problem. I finished all my morning visits.
I'm very curious to know his reaction.
Now, he won't like that. I made the discovery and not him.
Aren't you a little nervous about that?
Oh, he really will be pleased with the report. But at the same time, Peter is so afraid of anyone doing any service to the town except himself.
I will tell you what, Thomas. You should be good-natured and share the credit of this with him. Couldn't you say that it was he who set you on the track of this discovery?
Sure, if only I can get the thing fixed.
Is it true?
Father!
Ah, Mr. Kiil! Oh, good morning, good morning!
Come in.
If it is true, I will. If not, I'm off.
If what is true?
The story about the water supply. Is it true?
Well, certainly it's true, but how did you find out about it?
Petra ran in to tell me on her way to school.
Did she?
Yes. And I thought that she was only trying to make a fool of me. But it isn't like Petra to do that.
Of course not. How could you imagine such a thing?
Oh, well, it is better never to trust anybody. You might find that you have been made a fool of before you realize it. But is it true?
You can depend on it that it is true. Won't you sit down? Isn't it a lucky break for the town?
Lucky for the town?
Well, yes, that I discovered it in time.
Yes. But I should never have thought you the sort of man to pull your own brother's leg like this.
Pull his leg?
Really, Father dear.
Let me see. What was the story? Oh, some kind of beast that had got into the water pipes, wasn't it?
In Fusoria, yes.
And a lot of these beasts had got in, according to Petra, a tremendous lot.
Certainly, hundreds of thousands of them, probably.
But no one can see them. right?
Yes, you can't see them.
Damn! It's the finest story I ever heard.
What do you mean?
Well, but you will never get the mayor to believe a thing like that.
We shall see.
Do you think he will be fool enough to...
I hope the whole town will be foolish enough.
The whole town? Well, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It would just serve them right and teach them a lesson. They think themselves so much cleverer than we old fellows. They hounded me out of the council. They did, I tell you. They hounded me out. Now they shall pay for it. You pull their legs too, Thomas.
Really, I'm not pulling anybody.
You pull their legs. If you can work it so that the mayor and his friends all swallow the same bait, I will give 100 crowns to a charity. Like a shot.
That's very kind of you.
Yes. I haven't got much money to throw away, I can tell you. But if you can pull this off, I will give 50 crowns to a charity at Christmas.
Good morning! Oh, I beg your pardon.
Oh, not at all. Come in.
Oh, is he in on this too?
What do you mean?
Oh, certainly he is.
I might have known it. It must get into the papers. You know how to do it, Thomas. Set your wits to work. Now I must go.
Won't you stay a little while?
No, I must be off now. You keep up this game for all it's worth. You won't regret it. I'm damned if you will.
Just imagine. The old badger doesn't believe a word of all this about the water supply.
Oh, that was it then.
Yes, well, that was what he was talking about. Perhaps it's the same thing that brings you here.
Yes, it is. Can you spare me a few minutes, Doctor?
Well, as long as you like, my friend.
Have you heard from the mayor yet?
Well, not yet. He's coming here today.
I've given the matter a great deal of thought since last night.
Well?
From your point of view, as a doctor and a man of science, the matter of the water supply is an isolated matter. I mean, you don't realize that it involves a great many other things.
How do you mean?
You said yesterday that the pollution of the water was due to impurities in the soil?
Yes, unquestionably. It is due to that poisonous dump at Moladal.
Begging your pardon, Doctor. I think it is due to quite another dump altogether.
What dump?
The dump that the whole life of our town is built on and is rotting in.
What are you getting at, Hovstad?
The whole of the town's interests have little by little got into the hands of a pack of officials.
Oh, come on. They're not all officials.
Well, no, but those that are not officials are at any rate the officials' friends and supporters. It is the wealthy folk, the old families in the town, that have got us entirely in their hands.
Yes, but after all, they are men of ability and knowledge.
Did they show any ability and knowledge when they had the conduit pipes laid where they are now?
No. Of course, that was a great piece of stupidity on their part, but that's going to be repaired now.
Do you think that this will all be so easy?
Well, easy or not, it's got to be done anyway.
Yes, provided the press takes up the question.
Well, I don't think that'll be necessary. I'm certain that my brother will take care of it.
Excuse me, Doctor. I feel bound to tell you that I am inclined to take the matter up.
In the paper?
Yes. When I took over the People's Messenger, my idea was to break up this ring of self-opinionated old fossils who had got hold of all the influence.
But you told me yourself what the result had been. You nearly ruined your paper.
Well, yes, at the time we were forced to retreat a step or two because there was a danger of the whole project of the bats coming to nothing if they failed us. But now the scheme has been carried through and we can dispense with these grand gentlemen.
Dispense with them, yes, but we owe them a great deal of gratitude.
Oh, that will be recognized ungrudgingly. But a journalist of my democratic tendencies cannot let such an opportunity like this slip. The bubble of official infallibility must be pricked. This superstition must be destroyed like any other.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with you in that, Mr. Hofstad. If it is a superstition, away with it.
I should be very reluctant to bring the mayor into it because he's your brother. But I'm sure you will agree with me that truth should be the first consideration.
Well, that goes without saying. But yes, but I think...
And you must not misjudge me. I am neither more self-interested nor more ambitious than most men.
Did I suggest that of you?
I am of humble origin, as you know, and this has given me opportunities of knowing the pressing needs of the humbler people in life. It is they that should be allowed some part in the direction of public affairs, Doctor. That is what will develop their talents, their intelligence, and their self-respect.
I quite appreciate that.
Yes, and in my opinion, a journalist bears a heavy responsibility if he neglects a favorable opportunity of emancipating the masses, the humble and the oppressed. I know well enough that in exalted circles I shall be called an agitator. And more, they may call me what they like. If only my conscience doesn't criticize me, then...
Oh, absolutely, Mr. Hovstad. Come in!
Excuse me for showing up unannounced, Doctor.
Oh, it's you, Aslakson.
Yes, Doctor.
Is it me you want, Aslakson?
No, I didn't know I should find you here. No, it was the doctor
I am quite at your service. What is it?
Is what I heard from Mr. Billing true, sir, that you mean to improve our water supply?
Yes, for the baths.
I understand. Well, I have come to say that I will back up by every means in my power.
You see?
I shall be very grateful to you, but I don't...
Because it is no bad thing to have a small business tradesman at your back. We form, as it were, a compact majority in the town, if we choose. So it is always a good thing to have this majority with you, Doctor.
Well, that is undeniably true, but I confess I don't see why such unusual precautions should be necessary. It seems to me that this is such a plain, straightforward thing. And...
Oh, it may be very desirable all the same. I know our local authorities so well. Officials are not generally very ready to act on proposals that come from other people. That is why I think it would be appropriate that we make them a little demonstration.
That's right.
Demonstration? What on earth are you going to make a demonstration about?
We shall proceed with the greatest moderation, Doctor. Moderation is always my aim. It is the greatest virtue in a citizen. At least, I think so.
It is well known to be a characteristic of yours, Mr. Aslakson.
Yes, I think I might pride myself on that. And in this matter of the water supply is of the greatest importance to our small tradesmen. The baths promise to be a great, regular gold mine for the town. We shall make our living off of them, especially those of us who are property owners. And that is why we will back up the project as strongly as possible. And as I am at present chairman of the Property Owners Association...
Yes?
And what is more, local secretary of the Temperance Society, you know, sir, I suppose, that I am a worker in the temperance cause?
Of course, of course.
Well, you can understand that I come into contact with a great many people, and as I have the reputation of a temperate and law-abiding citizen, like yourself, Doctor, I have a certain influence in the town, a little bit of power, if I might be allowed to say so.
Well, I know that quite well, Mr. Aslakson.
So you see, it would be an easy matter for me to give you some testimonial if necessary.
A testimonial?
Yes, some kind of an address of thanks from the tradesmen for your share in a matter of such importance to the community. I need scarcely say that it would have to be drawn up with the greatest regard to moderation, as not to offend the authorities, who, after all, have the reins in their hands. But if we pay strict attention to that, no one can take offense, I should think.
Well, and even supposing they didn't like it...
No. There must be no offense to the authorities, Mr. Hovstad. It is of no use antagonizing those upon whom our welfare so closely depends. I have done that in my time, and no good ever comes of it. But no one can take exception to a reasonable and frank expression of a citizen's views.
Well, I can't tell you, Mr. Aslakson, how extremely pleased I am to find such hearty support among my fellow citizens. I'm delighted. I'm delighted. And now, you will take a small glass of sherry, huh?
No, thank you. I never drink alcohol of that kind.
Well, what do you say to a glass of beer, then?
Oh, not that either. Thank you, Doctor. I never drink anything as early as this. I'm going into town now to talk this over with one or two property owners and gather you support.
It's tremendously kind of you, Mr. Aslakson, but I really cannot understand the necessity for all these precautions. It seems to me that the thing speaks for itself.
Oh, the authorities are somewhat slow to move, Doctor. Far be it from me to be seen to blame them, but...
We're going to stir them up in the paper tomorrow, Aslakson.
Oh, not violently, I trust, Mr. Hovstad. Proceed with moderation, or you do nothing with them. You may take my advice. I have gathered my experience in the school of life. Well, I must say goodbye, Doctor. You know now that we small tradesmen are at your back at all times like a solid wall. You have the compact majority on your side, Doctor.
I am very much obliged, Mr. Aslakson. Goodbye.
Are you going my way towards the printing office, Mr. Hovstad?
I will come later. I have something to settle up first.
Very well.
Well, what do you think of that, Doctor? Don't you think it is high time we stirred a little life into all this laziness and vacillation and cowardice?
Are you referring to Aslakson?
Yes, I am. He is one of those who is spinning his wheels in the mud, even though he is a decent enough person otherwise. And most of the people are like him here are the same, seesawing and edging from one side to the other, so overcome with caution and scruples that they never dare to take any bold step.
Well, yes, but Aslakson seemed to me thoroughly well-intentioned.
There is one thing I esteem higher than that, and that is for a man to be self-reliant and sure of himself.
I think you're perfectly right there.
That is why I want to seize this opportunity and try to put a little courage into these well-intentioned people for once. The idol of authority must be shattered in this town. This gross and inexcusable mistake about the water supply must be exposed to the mind of every principal voter.
Very well. If you are of the opinion that it is for the good of the community, well then go ahead and do it. But not until after I've had a talk with my brother.
Well, anyway, I will get a leading article ready. And if the mayor refuses to take the matter up...
Well, how can you suppose such a thing to be possible?
It is conceivable. And in that case...
Well, in that case, I promise you... Look here. In any case, you may print my report, every word of it.
May I? Have I your word on that?
Here it is. Take it with you. It can do no harm for you to read it through, and you can give it back to me later on.
Good, good. That is what I will do. And now, goodbye, Doctor.
Goodbye. Goodbye. You will see everything will run quite smoothly, Mr. Hovstad, quite smoothly.
We shall see.
Katherine! Oh, you're back, Petra.
I have just come from the school.
Has he not been here yet?
Peter? Oh, no. But I have had a long talk with Hovstad. He is quite excited about my discovery. I feel it has a much wider effect than I first imagined. And he has put his paper at my disposal if the need arises.
Do you think it will?
Yes. Well, I don't think it will. No, not for a moment. But in any event, it makes me feel proud to know that I have the liberal-minded independent press on my side. Yes, and just imagine, I have also just had a visit from the chairman of the Property Owners Association.
Oh, what did he want?
To offer me his support, too. They will support me as a body if it should be necessary, Katherine. Do you know what I've got behind me?
Behind you? No, what have you got behind you?
The compact majority.
Really? Is that a good thing for you, Thomas?
Well, I should think it was a good thing. It's a fine thing to feel this bond of brotherhood between myself and my fellow citizens.
And to be able to do so much that is good and useful, Father.
And for one's own native town in the bargain, child.
There's a knock at the door.
It must be Peter, then. Come in!
Good morning.
Oh, glad to see you, Peter.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
So, thank you. I received from you, Thomas, yesterday, after office hours, a report dealing with the condition of the water at the baths.
Yes. Have you read it?
Yes, I have.
And what have you to say to it?
Come along, Petra.
Was it necessary to make all these investigations behind my back?
Yes, because until I was absolutely certain about it, I couldn't.
And you mean that you are absolutely certain now?
Surely you are convinced of that.
Is it your intention to bring this document before the Baths Committee as a sort of official communication?
Certainly. Something must be done in the matter, and quickly.
As usual, you employ violent expressions in your report. You say, among other things, that what we offer visitors in our baths is a permanent supply of poison.
Well, can you describe it in any other way, Peter? I mean, just think, water that is poisonous whether you drink it or bathe in it. And this we offer to the poor sick folk who come to us trustfully and pay us an extraordinary rate to be made well again?
And your reasoning leads you to this conclusion? That we must build a sewer to draw off the alleged impurities from Moladol and must rebuild the water conduits?
Well, yes. Do you see any other way out of it? I don't.
I made a pretext this morning to go and see the town engineer and, as if only half seriously, broach the subject of these proposals as a thing we might perhaps have to make under consideration sometime later on.
Sometime later on?
He smiled at what he considered to be my extravagance, naturally. Have you taken the trouble to consider what your proposed alterations will cost? According to the information I just obtained, the expenses would probably amount to several 100,000 crowns.
Would it cost so much?
Yes, and the worst part of it is the work would take at least 2 years.
2 years? 2 whole years?
At least. And what are we to do with the baths in the meantime? Close them? Indeed, we'd be forced to. And do you suppose anyone would come near the place after it got out that the water was dangerous?
Yes, but Peter, this is what it is.
And all this at this juncture, just as the baths are beginning to be known? There are other towns in this neighborhood with facilities to attract visitors for bathing purposes. Don't you suppose they'll immediately make every effort to divert the entire stream of visitors to themselves? Absolutely they will. And then where will we be? We would probably have to abandon the whole thing, which has cost us so much money, and then you would have ruined your native town.
I should have ruined my...
It is simply and solely through the baths that this town has any future worth mentioning. You know that as well as I do.
Well, what do you think ought to be done then?
Your report has not convinced me that the condition of the water at the baths is as bad as you represent it to be.
And I tell you, it's even worse. Or at all events, it will be worse in the summer when the warm weather comes.
As I said, I believe you exaggerate the matter considerably. A capable physician ought to know what measures to take. He ought to be capable of preventing injuries from occurring or of remedying defects if they become obviously persistent.
Well, what more?
The water supply for the baths is now an established fact, and in consequence must be treated as such. But probably the committee, at its discretion, will not be averse to consider the question of how far it might be possible to introduce certain improvements consistent with a reasonable expenditure.
And do you suppose that I will have anything to do with such a piece of trickery as that?
Trickery?
Yes, it would be a trick, a fraud, a lie. It would be a downright crime toward the public, towards the whole community.
I have not, as I remarked before, been able to convince myself that here there is any actual imminent danger.
You have. It's impossible that you should not be convinced. I know if I have represented the facts absolutely truthfully and fairly, and you know it very well, Peter, only you won't acknowledge it. It was owing to your action that both the baths and the water conduits were built where they are. And that is what you won't acknowledge, that damnable error of yours. Ha! Oh, do you suppose that I don't see through you?
And even if that were true, if I perhaps guard my reputation somewhat anxiously, it is in the interests of the town. Without moral authority, I am powerless to direct public affairs as seems to my judgment to be best for the common good. And on that account, and for various other reasons too, it appears to me to be a matter of importance that your report should not be delivered to the committee. In the interests of the public, you must withhold it. Then, later on, I will raise the question and we will do our best privately. But nothing of this unfortunate affair, not a single word of it, must come to the ears of the public.
I'm afraid you will not be able to prevent that now, dear Peter.
It must and shall be prevented.
It's no use, I tell you. There are too many people who know about it.
Know about it? Who? Surely you don't mean those employees on the People's Messenger?
Yes, they know. The liberal-minded independent press is going to see that you do your duty.
You are an extraordinarily independent man, Thomas. Have you given no thought to the consequences this may have for yourself?
Consequences? For me?
For you and yours, yes.
What do you mean?
I believe I have always behaved in a brotherly manner to you. Haven't I always been ready to oblige or help you?
Oh, yes, you have, and I'm grateful to you for it.
There is no need. Indeed, to some extent, I was forced to do so for my own sake. I always hoped that if I helped to improve your financial position, I should be able to keep some check on you.
Wait, it was only for your own sake that you did this?
Yes, up to a certain point. It is painful for a man in an official position to have his nearest relative compromising himself time after time.
And do you consider that I do that?
Yes, unfortunately you do, without even being aware of it. You have a restless, pugnacious, rebellious disposition, and then there is that disastrous propensity of yours to want to write about every sort of possible and impossible thing. The moment an idea comes into your head, you have to go and write a newspaper article or distribute a pamphlet about it.
Well, but is it not the duty of a citizen to let the public share in any new ideas he may have?
Oh, the public doesn't require any new ideas. The public is best served by the good, old-fashioned ideas it already has.
And that is your honest opinion?
Yes. And for once, I must talk frankly to you. Until now, I have tried to avoid doing so because I know how irritable you are. But now I must tell you the truth, Thomas. You have no conception what an amount of harm you do to yourself by your impulsiveness. You complain about the authorities. You even complain about the government. You are always tearing them to pieces. You insist that you have been neglected and persecuted. But what else can such a cantankerous man as you expect?
What, cantankerous am I?
Yes, Thomas, you are an extremely cantankerous man to work with. I know that to my cost. You disregard everything that you ought to have consideration for. You seem completely to forget that it is me you have to thank for your appointment here as medical officer to the baths.
I was entitled to it as a matter of course. I and nobody else. I was the first person to see that the town could be made into flourishing medicinal springs, and I was the only one who saw it at that time. I had to fight single-handedly in support of the idea for many years, and so I wrote and wrote and wrote about it, and...
But things were not ripe for the proposal then, Pete Thomas, though of course you could not judge that in your out-of-the-way corner up north at the time. But as soon as the opportune moment came, I and the others took the matter into our hands.
Oh, yes? And you made this mess of my beautiful plan. It's pretty obvious now what real clever fellows you were.
To my mind, the whole thing only seems to mean that you are seeking another outlet for your combativeness. You want to pick a quarrel with your superiors, an old habit of yours. You cannot put up with any authority over you. You look cross-eyed at anyone who occupies a superior official position. You regard him as a personal enemy, and then any stick is good enough to beat him with. But now I have called your attention to the fact that the town's interests are at stake, Thomas, and incidentally, my own too. And therefore, I must tell you that you will find me immovable with regard to what I am about to require you to do.
And what is that?
As you have been so indiscreet as to speak of this delicate matter to outsiders, despite the fact that you ought to have treated it as an entirely official and confidential matter, it is obviously impossible to hush it up now. All sorts of rumors will be going around directly, and everybody who has a grudge against us will take care to exaggerate those rumors. So it will be necessary for you to refute them publicly.
Hi! How? I don't understand.
What we shall expect is that after making further investigations, you will come to the conclusion that the matter is not by any means as dangerous or as critical as you imagined in the first instance.
Aha, oh, that is what you expect, huh?
And what is more, we shall expect you to make a public statement of your confidence in the committee and in their readiness to consider fully and conscientiously whatever steps may be necessary to remedy any possible defects.
But you will never be able to do that by patching and tinkering at it. Never. I mean, take my word for it, Peter. I mean what I say, as deliberately and as emphatically as possible.
As an officer under the committee, you have no right to any individual opinion.
No right?
In your official capacity, no. As a private person, it is quite another matter. But as a subordinate member of the staff of the baths, you have no right to express any opinion which runs contrary to that of your superiors.
This is too much. I, a doctor and a man of science, and you have no right to say this.
The matter in hand is not simply a scientific one. It is a complicated matter and has its economic as well as its technical side.
I don't care what it is. I intend to be free to express my opinion on any subject under the sun.
As you please, but not on any subject concerning the baths. That we forbid.
You forbid? You, a pack of jackals.
Forbid it. I forbid it. I, your chief, and if I forbid it, you have to obey.
Peter, if you were not my brother, then I would...
Father, you mustn't stand this.
Petra!
You have been eavesdropping.
You were talking so loud, we couldn't help it.
Yes, I was listening.
Oh, I am very glad, actually.
You were saying something about forbidding and obeying.
You forced me to take that tone with you.
And so I have to be forced to lie publicly.
We consider it absolutely necessary that you should make some such public statement as I have asked for.
And if I do not obey?
Then we shall publish a statement ourselves to reassure the public.
Oh, very well. Well, in that case, I shall use my pen against you. I stick to what I've said. I will show that I am right and that you are wrong. And what will you do then?
Then I shall not be able to prevent your being dismissed.
What?
Father, dismissed?
Dismissed?
Dismissed from the staff of the baths. I shall be forced to propose that you shall immediately be given notice and shall not be allowed any further participation in the baths' affairs.
You would not dare to do that.
It is you that are playing the daring game.
Uncle, that is a shameful way to treat a man like father.
Hold your tongue, Petra.
Oh, Petra. So we volunteer our opinions already, do we? Of course, Katherine, I imagine you are the most sensible person in this house. Use any influence you may have over your husband and make him see what this will result for his family as well as
My family is my own concern and nobody else's.
For his own family and, as I was saying, as well as for the town he lives in.
It is I who have the real goal, the real good of the town at heart. I want to reveal the defects that sooner or later must come out. I will show whether I love my native town.
You, who in your blind obstinacy want to cut off the most important source of our town's welfare?
The source is poisoned, man. Are you mad? We are making our living by retailing filth and corruption. The whole of our flourishing municipal life derives its substance from a lie.
All imagination, or something even worse. The man who can throw out such offensive insinuations about his native town must be an enemy to the community.
Do you dare to say
Thomas!
Don't lose your temper, Father.
I will not expose myself to violence. Now you have had a warning. So reflect on what you owe to yourself and your family. Goodbye.
Am I to be put up with such a treatment in my own house? Katherine, what do you think of this?
Indeed, it is both shameful and absurd, Thomas.
If only I could give Uncle a piece of my mind.
Well, it's all my fault. I ought to have flown out at him long ago, shown my teeth, bitten. To hear him call me an enemy to our community. Me! Oh, I shall not take that lying down, no sir.
But dear Thomas, your brother has power on his side.
Well, yes, but I have right on mine, I tell you.
Oh, yes, right, right. What is the use of having right on your side if you have not got might?
Oh, Mother, how can you say such a thing?
Do you imagine that in a free country it is no use having right on your side? You're absurd, Katherine. Besides, haven't I got the liberal-minded independent press to lead the way and the compact majority behind me? That is might enough, I should think.
But good heavens, Thomas, you don't mean to.
I don't mean to what?
To set yourself up in opposition to your brother.
In God's name, what else do you suppose I should do but take my stand on right and truth?
Yes, I was just going to say that.
But it won't do you any earthly good. If they won't do it, they won't.
Katherine, if you just give me time, and you will see how I will carry the war into their camp.
Yes, you carry the war into their camp, and you get your dismissal. That is what you will do.
In any case, I shall have done my duty towards the public, towards the community. I, who am called its enemy.
But towards your family, Thomas, towards your own home? Do you think that is doing your duty towards those you have to provide for?
Don't always think of us first, Mother.
Oh, it is easy for you to talk. You are able to fend for yourself if need be. But remember the boys, Thomas, and think a little of yourself too, and of me.
I think you are out of your senses, Katherine. If I were to be such a miserable coward as to go on my knees to Peter and his damned crew, do you suppose I should ever know an hour's peace of mind all my life afterwards?
I don't know anything about that, but God preserve us from what we shall all have if you go on defying him. You will find yourself again without the means of sustenance, with no income to count on. I should think we've had enough of that in the old days. Remember that, Thomas. Think of what that means.
And this is what this slavery can bring upon a free and honorable man. Isn't it horrible, Katherine?
Yes, it is sinful to treat you so. It is perfectly true. But good heavens, one has to put up with so much injustice in this world. There are the boys, Thomas. What is to become of them? Oh, no. You can never have the heart.
The boys, well... No. Even if the whole world goes to pieces, I will never bow my neck to this yoke.
Thomas, what are you going to do?
I mean to have the right to look my sons in the face when they are grown men.
Oh, God help us all.
Father is splendid. He will not give in.
Act 3.
Well, this is something.
Have you read it through?
Yes, indeed I have.
Don't you think the doctor hits them pretty hard?
Hard? He's crushing. Every word falls like a sledgehammer.
Yes, but these are not people to throw in the towel at the first blow.
This is true. And for that reason, we must strike blow upon blow until this whole aristocracy tumbles to pieces. As I sat reading this, I could almost see the start of a revolution.
Shh! Speak so that Aslakson cannot hear you.
Aslakson is a chicken heart, a coward. There's nothing of man in him. But this time you will insist on your own way, won't you? You will put the doctor's article in.
Yes, and if the mayor doesn't like it...
That will be a nuisance.
Well, fortunately, we can turn the situation for the best whatever happens. If the mayor will not fall in with the doctor's project, he will have all the small tradesmen down on him, the whole of the property owners association, and the rest of them. And if he does fall in with it, he will fall out with all the large shareholders in the bath, who up to now have been his most valuable supporters.
Yes, because they will certainly have to fork out a pretty penny.
Yes, you may be sure they will. And in this way, the ring will be broken up, you see, and then, in every issue of the paper, we will enlighten the public on the mayor's incapability on one point and another, and make it clear that the positions of trust in this town, the whole control of municipal affairs, ought to be in the hands of the liberals.
That is perfectly true. I see it coming. I see it coming. We are on the threshold of a revolution.
Hush. Come in. Ah, it is you, Doctor. Well?
You may set to work and print it, Mr. Hovstad.
Has it come to that, then?
Hooray!
Yes, print away. Undoubtedly it has come to that. Now they must take what they get. This is going to be a fight in this town, Mr. Billing.
War to the death, I hope. We will get our knives to their throat, Doctor.
This article is only a beginning. I have already got 4 or 5 more sketched out in my head. Where's Aslakson?
Aslakson, just come here for a minute.
4 or 5 more articles, you said? On the same subject?
No, far from it, my friend. No, they are about quite another matter. But they all spring from the question of the water supply and the drainage. One thing leads to another, you know. It's like the beginning of pulling down an old house, exactly.
Good heavens, it's true. You find you are not done till you have pulled all the old garbage down.
Pulled down? You're not thinking of pulling down the baths, surely, Doctor?
Oh, far from it. Don't be afraid.
No, we meant something quite different. Well, what do you think of my article, Mr. Hovstad?
I think it is simply a masterpiece.
Do you really think so? Well, I'm very pleased. Very pleased.
It is so clear and intelligible. One need have no special knowledge to understand the meaning of it. You will have every enlightened man on your side.
And every prudent man, too, I hope.
The prudent and the imprudent. Almost the whole town.
In that case, we may venture to print it.
Oh, I should think so.
We will put it in tomorrow morning.
Of course, you must not lose a single day. What I wanted to ask you, Mr. Aslakson, was if you would supervise the printing of it yourself.
With pleasure.
Take care of it as if it were your treasure. No misprints. Every word is important. I will look at it again a little later. Perhaps you'll be able to let me see a proof. I can't tell you how eager I am to see it in print and see it burst upon the public.
Yes, burst upon them. Yes, like a flash of lightning.
And to have it submitted to the judgment of my intelligent fellow townspeople. You cannot imagine what I have gone through today. I have been threatened first with one thing and then with another. They have tried to rob me of my elementary rights as a man.
What? Your rights as a man?
Yes, they tried to degrade me and to make a coward out of me, to force me to put personal interests before my most sacred convictions.
That is too much. I'm damned if it isn't.
Oh, you mustn't be too surprised at anything from those people.
Well, they will get the worst of it with me. They may assure themselves of that. I shall consider the people's messenger my battleship now, and every single day I will bombard them with one article after another, like bombshells.
Yes, but...
Hooray! It is war. It is war.
Yes, I shall smite them to the ground. I shall crush them. I shall break down all their defenses before the eyes of the honest public. That is what I shall do.
Yes, but in moderation, Doctor. Proceed in moderation.
Not a bit of it. Not a bit of it. Don't spare the dynamite.
Because it is not merely a question of the water supply and drains now, you know. No, it is the whole of our social life that we've got to purify and disinfect.
Spoken like a deliverer.
All the incompetence must be turned out, you understand, and in every walk of life. Endless vistas have opened themselves to my mind's eye today. Well, I cannot see it all quite clearly yet. I shall need time. But young and vigorous standard bearers, those are what we need and must seek, my friends. We must have new men in command at all our outposts.
Hear, hear.
We only need to stand by one another, and it will be all perfectly easy. The revolution will be launched like a ship that runs smoothly off the dock. Don't you think so?
For my part, I think we now have a prospect of getting the municipal authority into the right hands.
But only if we proceed with moderation. I cannot imagine that will be any risk.
Who the devil cares about whether there's whisk or not? What I am doing in the name of truth and for the sake of my conscience.
You are a man who deserves to be supported, Doctor.
Yes, there is no denying that the doctor is a true friend to the town. A real friend to the community he is.
Take my word for it, Aslakson. Dr. Stockman is a friend of the people.
I fancy that the Property Owners Association will make use of that expression before long.
Oh, thank you very much, my dear staunch friends. It's very refreshing for me to hear you say that. My brother called me something quite different. He shall have it back with interest. So now I must be off to see a patient. I will come back, as I said. Keep a very careful eye on the manuscript, Aslakson, and don't leave out any of my notes or explanation. Rather, put one or two more in. Well, goodbye for the present. Goodbye.
He may prove to be an invaluably useful man to us.
Yes, so long as he confines himself to this matter of the bath. But if he goes farther afield, I don't think it would be advisable for us to follow him.
That all depends.
You are so infernally timid, Aslakson.
Timid? Well, yes, when it is a question of the local authorities, I am timid, Mr. Billing. It is a lesson I have learned in the school of experience, let me tell you. But try me in higher politics, in the matters that concern the government themselves, and then see if I am timid.
No, you aren't, I admit, but this is simply contradicting yourself.
I am a man with a conscience, and let that be the whole matter. If you attack the government, you don't do the community any harm anyway. Those fellows pay no attention to attack, you see. They go on just as they were, in spite of them. But local authorities are different. They can be turned out, and then perhaps you may get an ignorant lot into office who may do irreparable harm to the property owners and to everybody else.
But what of the education of citizens by self-government? Don't you attach any importance to that?
When a man has interests of his own to protect, he cannot think of everything, Mr. Hovstad.
Then I hope I shall never have interests of my own to protect.
Hear, hear.
Mr. Sharif Stensgaard was your predecessor in that editorial desk.
Bah, that turncoat.
I am not a weather vane, and never will be.
A politician should never be too certain of anything, Mr. Hovstad. And as for you, Mr. Billing, I should think that it is time for you to be taking a more cautious tack, seeing that you are applying for the post of secretary to the bench.
Are you, Billing?
Well, yes, but you must clearly understand that I'm only doing it to annoy the bigwigs.
Anyhow, it is no business of mine. But if I am to be accused of timidity and of inconsistency in my principles, that is what I want to point out. My political past is an open book. I have never changed, except perhaps to become a little more moderate, you see. My heart is still with the people, but I don't deny that my reason has a certain bias toward the authorities. The local ones, I mean.
Oughtn't we try and get rid of him, Hovstad?
Do you know anyone else who advanced the money for our paper and our printing bill?
It's a damn nuisance that we don't possess some capital to trade on.
Yes, if we only had that, then...
Suppose you were to apply to Dr. Stockman.
What is the use? He's got nothing.
No, but he has got a rich relative in the background. Old Morton Kiil, the Badger, as they call him.
Are you so sure he's got anything?
Oh, good Lord, of course he has. And some of it must come to the Stockmans. Most probably he will do something for the children, at least.
Are you counting on that?
Counting on it? Of course, I'm not counting on anything.
That is right. And I should not count on the secretaryship to the bench either, if I were you, for I can assure you, you won't get it.
Do you think I'm not quite aware of that? My object is precisely not to get it. A slight of that kind stimulates a man's fighting power. It is like getting a supply of fresh bile, and I'm sure one needs that badly enough in a hole-in-the-ground place like this, where it is so seldom that anything happens to stir up anyone.
You can say that again.
Ah, I shall be heard from yet. Now I shall go write an appeal to the Property Owners Association.
Come in. What, you here?
Yes, you must forgive me.
Won't you sit down?
No, thank you. I must go again in a moment.
Have you come with me with a message from your father by any chance?
No, I have come on my own account. Here is the English story.
Why have you brought it back?
Because I am not going to translate it.
But you promised me faithfully.
Yes, but then I had not read it. I don't suppose you have read it either.
No, you know quite well I don't understand English.
Yes, that is why I wanted to tell you that you must find something else. You can't use this for the People's Messenger.
Why not?
Because it conflicts with all of your opinions.
Oh, in that case.
You don't understand me. The subject of this story is that there is a supernatural power that looks after the so-called good people in this world and makes everything happen for the best in their case, while all the so-called bad people are punished.
Well, but that is all right. That's just what our readers want.
And are you going to be the one to give it to them? For myself, I do not believe a word of it. You know quite well that things like that don't happen in reality.
You are perfectly right. But an editor cannot always act as he would prefer. He's often obliged to bow to the wishes of the public in unimportant matters. Politics are the most important thing in life, for a newspaper anyway. And if I want to carry my public with me on the path that leads to liberty and progress, I must not frighten them away. If they find a moral tale of this sort in this section at the bottom of the paper, then they'll be all the more ready to read what is printed above it. They will feel more secure, as it were.
For shame! You would never go and set a trap like that for your readers. You are not a spider.
Well, thank you for having such a good opinion of me. No, as a matter of fact, it is Billings' idea, not mine.
Billings!
Yes, anyway, he came up with that theory one day. And it is Billings who's so anxious to have that story in the paper. I don't know anything about that book.
But how can Billings with his emancipated views?
Well, Billings is a many-sided man. I hear he's applying for the post of secretary to the bench, too, I hear.
I don't believe it, Mr. Hovstad. How could he possibly bring himself to do such a thing?
You must ask him that.
I should never have thought it of him.
No. Does it really surprise you so much?
Yes! Or maybe not. I don't know.
We journalists haven't much honor in Stockholm.
Do you really mean that?
I think so sometimes.
Yes, in the ordinary affairs of everyday life, maybe. I can understand that. But now, when you've taken a weighty matter in hand?
This matter of your father's, you mean?
Exactly. It seems to me that now you must feel you are a man worth more than most.
Yes, today I do feel something of that sort.
Of course you do, don't you? It is a splendid career you have chosen, to smooth the way for the march of unappreciated truths and new and courageous lines of thought. If it were nothing more than because you stand so fearlessly in the open and take up the cause of an injured man.
Especially when that man is... I don't rightly know how to say this.
When that man is so upright and so honest, you mean?
Especially when he is your father, I meant.
That?
Yes, Petra. Miss Petra.
Is it that is first and foremost with you? Not the matter itself, not the truth, not my father's big, generous heart?
Oh, certainly, of course, that too.
No, thank you. You have betrayed yourself, Mr. Hofstad, and now I shall never trust you again in anything.
Can you really look at me so harshly, knowing that I do it mostly for your sake?
What I am angry with you for is for not having been honest with my father. You talked to him as if the truth and the good of the community were what lay nearest to your heart. You have made fools of both my father and me. You are not the man you made yourself out to be. And for that I shall never forgive you. Never!
You ought not to speak so bitterly, Miss Petra, least of all now.
Why not now especially?
Because your father cannot do without my help.
Are you that sort of man too? For shame!
No, I'm not. This came upon me unexpectedly. You must believe me.
I know what to believe. Goodbye.
Damn it, Hovstad! Ugh, this is awkward.
There is the book. You must give it to someone else.
But Miss Stockman.
Goodbye.
Mr. Hovstad?
Well, what is it?
The mayor's outside in the printing room.
The mayor, did you say?
Yes, he wants to speak to you. He came in by the back door. Didn't want to be seen, you understand.
What can he want? Just see, Aslakson, that no one...
Yes.
You did not expect to see me, Mr. Hovstad.
No, I confess I did not.
Well, you are very snug in here. Very nice indeed.
Oh.
And here I come, without any notice, to take up your time.
By all means, Mr. Mayor, I am at your service. Won't you sit down?
Thank you. I have had an extremely annoying experience today, Mr. Hovstad.
Really? Well, I expect with all the various business you have to attend to.
The medical officer of the baths is responsible for what happened today.
Oh, the doctor.
He has addressed a kind of report to the baths committee on the subject of certain supposed defects in the baths.
Has he indeed?
Yes. Has he not told you? I thought he said that he had.
It is true he did mention something about it.
I ought to have that copy.
There, on the desk.
Right.
But look there, that's the thing I was speaking of.
Yes, that is the doctor's article, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, is that what you were speaking about?
Yes, that is it. What do you think of it?
Oh, I'm only a layman, and I have only taken a very cursory glance at it.
But are you going to print it?
I cannot very well refuse a distinguished man.
I have nothing to do with editing the paper, Mr. Mayor.
I understand.
I merely print what is put into my hands.
Yes.
And so I must...
No. Wait a minute, Mr. Aslakson. You will allow me, Mr. Hovstad?
If you please, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Aslakson, you are a discreet and thoughtful man.
Oh, I'm delighted to hear you think so, sir.
And a man of very considerable influence.
Chiefly among the small tradesmen, sir.
The small taxpayers are the majority here, as everywhere else.
That is true.
And I have no doubt you know the general trend of opinion among them, don't you?
Yes, I think I may say that I do, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, since there is such a praiseworthy spirit of self-sacrifice among the less wealthy citizens of our town.
What?
Self-sacrifice?
It is pleasing evidence of a public-spirited feeling, extremely pleasing evidence. I might almost say I hardly expected it, but you have a closer knowledge of public opinion than I.
But, Mr. Mayor...
And indeed, it is no small sacrifice that the town is going to make.
The town?
But I don't understand. Is it the baths?
At a preliminary estimate, the alterations that the medical officer asserts to be desirable will cost somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 crowns.
Well, that is a lot of money, but...
It will be necessary to raise a municipal loan.
Surely you don't mean that the town must pay.
Do you mean that it must come out of the municipal funds? Out of the poorly filled pockets of the small tradesmen?
Well, my dear Mr. Aslakson, where else is the money to come from?
Well, the gentlemen who own the baths ought to provide that.
The proprietors of the baths are not in a position to incur any further expense.
Is that absolutely certain, Mr. Mayor?
I have satisfied myself that it is so. If the town wants these very extensive alterations, it will have to pay for them.
But damn it all! I beg your pardon. This is quite another matter, Mr. Mayor.
It
Mr.
is
Hovstad.
indeed.
The most fatal part of it is that we shall be forced to shut the baths for a couple of years.
Shut them all together?
For 2 years?
Yes, the work will take as long as that at least.
Well, I'm damned if we will stand for that, Mr. Mayor. What are we property owners to live upon in the meantime?
Unfortunately, that is an extremely difficult question. Mr. Aslakson, what would you have us do? Do you suppose we shall have a single visitor in the town if we go about proclaiming that our water is polluted, that we are living over a plague spot, that the entire town...
And this whole thing is merely imagination?
With the best will in the world, I have not been able to come to any other conclusion.
Well, then I must say that it is absolutely unjustifiable of Dr. Stockman. I beg your pardon, Mr. Mayor.
What you say is lamentably true, Mr. Aslakson. My brother has unfortunately always been a headstrong man.
After this, do you mean to give him your support, Mr. Hovstad?
Can you suppose for a moment that I
have drawn up a short summary of the situation as it appears from a reasonable man's point of view. In it, I have indicated how certain possible defects might suitably be remedied without exhausting the resources of the Baths Committee.
Have you got that with you, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I do. I brought it with me in case you should want to see it.
Oh, good Lord, there he is.
Who, my brother?
Where?
Oh, he has just gone through the printing room.
How unlucky. I don't want to meet with him here, and I still have several things to speak with you about.
Go in that room for the present.
But are you sure?
You will only find billing in there.
Oh, quick, Mr. Mayor. He's coming.
Yes, very well, but see that you get rid of him quickly.
Pretend to be doing something, Aslakson.
Well, here I am again.
Already, Doctor. Hurry up with what we were speaking about, Aslakson. We are very pressed for time today.
No proof for me to see, it appears.
Oh, you couldn't expect it yet, Doctor.
No, but I am impatient, as you can understand. I shall not know moment's peace until I see it in print.
Well, it will take a good while yet, won't it, Aslakson?
Yes, I'm almost afraid it will.
All right, my dear friends. I will come back, but I do not mind coming back twice if necessary. A matter of such great importance, the welfare of the town at stake, it is no time to shirk trouble. But look here, there's one thing more I want to speak to you about.
Excuse me, could it not wait until some other time?
Well, I can tell you in half a dozen words. It's only this. When my article is read tomorrow and it is realized that I've been quietly working the whole winter for the welfare of the town, well...
Yes, but Doctor...
I know what you're going to say. You don't see how on earth it was any more than my duty, my obvious duty as a citizen. Well, of course it wasn't, but I know that as well as you do, but, my fellow citizens, oh, good Lord, think of all the good souls who think so highly of me.
Yes, our townsfolk have a very high opinion of you so far, Doctor.
Oh, yes, and that's just why I'm afraid that they, this is the point, you see. When this reaches them, especially the poor classes, and sounds in their ears like a summons to take the town's affairs into their own hands for the future.
Doctor, I won't conceal from you the fact...
I knew there was something in the wind, but I won't have a word of it. If anything of that sort is being planned...
Of what sort?
Well, whatever it is, whether it's a demonstration in my honor, or a banquet, or a subscription list for some presentation from me, whatever it is, you must promise me solemnly and faithfully to put a stop to it. You too, Mr. Aslakson, do you understand?
You must forgive me, Doctor. But sooner or later, we must tell you the plain truth.
Just as I thought.
You too, Mrs. Stockman?
What on earth do you want here, Katherine?
I should think you should know very well what I want.
Won't you sit down? Or perhaps...
No, thank you. Don't trouble. And you must not be offended at my coming to fetch my husband. I am the mother of 3 children, you know.
Well, of course they know that.
Well, one would not give you credit for much thought for your wife and your children today. If you had that, you would not have gone and dragged us all out into misfortune.
Are you out of your senses, Katherine? Because a man has a wife and children, is he not allowed to proclaim the truth? Is he not allowed to be an actively useful citizen? Is he not allowed to do a service to his native town?
Yes, Thomas, in reason.
Just what I say. Moderation is everything.
And that is why you wrong us, Mr. Hovstad, in enticing my husband away from his home and making a dupe of him in all this.
I certainly am making a dupe of no one.
Making a dupe of me? Do you suppose I should allow myself to be duped?
It is just what you do. I know quite well you have more brains than anyone in the town, but you are extremely easily duped, Thomas. Mr. Hovstad, please do realize that he loses his post at the baths if you print what he has written.
What?
Look here, Doctor.
Well, just let them try. No, they will take a good care not to. I have got the compact majority behind me, let me tell you.
Yes, that's just the worst of it. You're having any horrid thing behind you.
Ridiculous, Katherine. Go home and look after your house and leave me to look after the community. I mean, how can you be so afraid when I am so confident and happy? Truth and the people will win the fight. You may be certain of that. I seek the whole of the broad-minded middle class, marching like a victorious army. What is that hat doing here?
Oh, good Lord.
Well, here we have the topmost pinnacle of authority.
The mayor's hat.
How in the name of heaven?
Well, you see.
Oh, no, I understand. He has been trying to talk you out of it. Well, he made a big mistake there. And as soon as you caught sight of me in the printing room, did he run away, Mr. Aslakson?
Yes, he ran away, Doctor.
Ran away without his hat. Nonsense. Peter does not run away and leave his belongings behind him. But what have you done with him? Yes. He is in that room there, of course. Oh, now you shall see, Katherine.
Oh, Thomas, please don't.
Don't be rash, Doctor.
What does this foolishness mean?
Be respectful, my good Peter. I am the chief authority in the town now.
Really, Thomas?
Give me my hat.
Oh, if you are the chief constable, let me tell you that I am the mayor. I am the master of the whole town, please understand.
Take off my hat, I tell you.
You think that the newly awakened lion-hearted people are going to be frightened by you? There is going to be a revolution in this town tomorrow, let me tell you. You thought you could turn me out, but now I shall turn you out of all of your various offices. Do you think I cannot? Well, listen to me. I have triumphant social forces behind me. Hovstad and Billing will thunder in the People's Messenger, and Aslakson will take the field at the head of the whole Property Owners Association and...
No, I will not, Doctor.
Well, of course you will.
May I ask then if Mr. Hovstad intends to join this agitation?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No, Mr. Hovstad is not such a fool as to go and ruin his paper and himself for the sake of an imaginary grievance.
What does this mean?
You have represented your case in a false light, Doctor, and therefore I am unable to give you my support.
And after what the mayor was so kind to tell me just now, I can't...
A false light? I mean, leave that part to me. Only print my article. I am quite capable of defending it.
I am not going to print it. I cannot and will not and dare not print it.
You dare not? What nonsense. You are the editor, and an editor controls his paper, I suppose.
No, it is the subscribers, Doctor.
Fortunately, yes.
It is public opinion, the enlightened public, property owners, and people of that kind. They control the newspapers.
And I have all these influences against me.
Yes, you have. It would mean the absolute ruin of the community if your article were to appear.
Indeed.
My hat, if you please. Your authority as mayor has come to an untimely end.
Well, do you think we have not got to the end yet, Hovstad? Then it is quite impossible for you to print my article in the People's Messenger.
Quite impossible. Out of regard for your family as well.
Oh, you need not concern yourself about his family, thank you, Mr. Hofstad.
It will be sufficient for the guidance of the public if this appears. It is an official statement. May I trouble you?
Certainly. I will see that it is printed.
Oh, but not mine? Do you imagine that you can stifle me and stifle the truth? You will not find it so easy as you suppose. Mr. Aslakson, kindly take my manuscript at once and print it as a pamphlet at my expense. I will have 400 copies. No, 500 or 600 copies.
If you offered me its weight in gold, I could not lend my press to any such purpose, Doctor. It would be flying in the face of public opinion. You will not get it printed anywhere in the town.
Well, then give it back to me.
Here it is.
It shall be made public all the same. I will read it out at a mass meeting of the townspeople. All my fellow citizens shall hear the voice of truth.
You will not find any public body in the town that will give you the use of their hall for such a purpose.
No, not a single one. I am certain of that.
No, I'm damned if you will find one.
But this is too shameful. Why should everyone turn against you like that?
Well, I'll tell you why. It's because all the men in this town are old women, like you. They think nothing of but their families and the never of the community.
Then I will show them that an old woman can be a man for once. I'm going to stand by you, Thomas.
Bravely said, Katherine. It shall be made public that as I am a living soul, if I can't hire a hall, and I shall hire a drum and parade the town with it and read it at every street corner.
You are surely not such an absolute fool as that.
Oh, yes, I am.
You won't find a single man in the whole town to go with you.
Agreed. I'm damned if you will.
Don't give in, Thomas.
I will not. Thank you, my dear. Now we are going to have a battle, gentlemen. I am going to see whether a pack of cowards can succeed in gagging a patriot who wants to purify society.
Now he has made her lose all of her senses, too.
Act 4.
Hello, Lamstad. You here too?
She goes to every public meeting. I do. Brought your whistle?
Oh, of course. Have you?
Yeah, and old Evanson said he was going to bring a cowbell, a cowboy.
Good old Evanson.
What's going on here tonight?
Oh, Dr. Stockman is going to deliver a speech attacking the mayor.
But the mayor's his brother.
That doesn't matter.
But he is wrong. It said so in the People's Messenger.
Yes, I expect he must be in the wrong this time, because neither the Property Owners Association nor the Citizen Club would lend him their hall for his meeting.
He couldn't even get the loan of the hall at the baths.
Who are we to back on this?
Watch Aslakson. Do as he does.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I need to get through. I'm reporting for the People's Messenger. Thank you very much.
Who is that?
Don't you know him? It's Billing who writes for Aslakson's paper.
I thought you might all sit here. You can slip out easily from here if things get too difficult.
Do you think there will be a disturbance?
One can never tell with such a crowd. But sit down and don't be nervous.
It was extremely kind of you to offer my husband the room.
Well, nobody else would.
And it was a courageous thing to do, Captain Horster.
Oh, it is not such a great matter as all that.
Has Dr. Stockman not yet arrived?
He is waiting in the next room.
Look, here comes the mayor.
Yes, I'm surprised that he has come after all.
How do you feel, Katherine?
All right, thank you. Be sure not to lose your temper, Thomas.
Oh, I know how to control myself. It is 1:15, so I shall begin.
I think we ought to elect a chairman first.
No, it is quite unnecessary.
Yes.
Yes.
I certainly think that we ought to have a chairman.
But I have called this meeting to deliver a lecture, Peter.
Dr. Stockman's lecture may possibly lead to a considerable conflict of opinion.
A chairman.
The general wish of the meeting seems to be that a chairman should be elected.
Very well. Let the crowd have its way.
Will the mayor be good enough to undertake this task?
Oh, bravo!
Bravo.
For various reasons which you will easily understand, I must decline. But fortunately, we have amongst us a man who I think will be acceptable to you all. I refer to the president of the Property Holders Association, Mr. Aslakson.
Yes,
Excellent.
Since my fellow citizens choose to entrust me with this duty, I cannot refuse.
Mr. Aslakson was elected with enthusiasm.
And now, as I am in this position, I would like to say a few brief words. I am a quiet and peaceful man who believes in discreet moderation and in moderate discretion. All my friends can bear witness to that.
That's right, Aslakson.
Yep.
I have learned in the school of life and experience that moderation is the most valuable virtue a person can possess.
Hear, hear.
And moreover, that caution and moderation are what enable a man to be of most service to the community. I would therefore suggest to our esteemed fellow citizens, who has called this meeting, that he should strive to keep strictly within the bounds of moderation.
3 cheers for moderation! Yes!
Does anyone wish to make any remarks?
Mr. Chairman,
The mayor will address the meeting.
as you know, I have a close personal relationship to the present medical officer of the baths. I should have preferred not to speak this evening. My official position with regard to the baths and my solicitude for the vital interests of the town compel me to bring forward a motion. I venture to presume that there is not a single one of our citizens present who considers it desirable that unreliable and exaggerated accounts of the sanitary condition of the baths should be spread outside of the town.
No, certainly not. It should not be allowed.
Therefore, I should like to propose that the meeting should not permit the medical officer to either to read or to comment on his proposed lecture.
Not permit? What the devil are you talking?
Yes.
Very well. Go ahead.
In my comments to the People's Messenger, I have put the essential facts before the public in such a way that every fair-minded citizen can easily form his own opinion. From it, you will see that the main result of the medical officer's proposals, apart from their constituting a vote of no confidence on the leading men of the town, would be to saddle the ratepayers with an unnecessary expenditure of at least 100,000 crowns.
Silence, please, gentlemen. I second the mayor's motion. It also appeals to me that the doctor has a hidden agenda in his report. He talks about the baths, but he is actually seeking revolution. He wants the administration of the town put into new hands. No one doubts the honesty of the doctor's intention. No one would suggest that. I, myself, am a believer in the government of the people, provided it does not fall too heavily on the taxpayers, on all the ratepayers. But that would be the case here, and that is why I will I beg your pardon, before I support Dr. Stockman in the matter. You can pay too dearly for the principle sometimes. That is my opinion.
I, too, wish to explain my position. Originally, Dr. Stockman's report appeared to be gaining a certain amount of sympathy, so I supported it, as impartially as I could. But then we had reason to suspect that we had allowed ourselves to be misled by a misrepresentation of the facts.
Misrepresentation?
Let us say a not entirely reliable representation. The mayor's statement has proved that I have liberal principles. The position of the people's messenger toward important political questions is well known to everyone. But the advice of experienced and thoughtful men has convinced me to be cautious concerning such matters.
I entirely agree.
And now, in the matter before us, it is an undoubted fact that Dr. Stockman has public opinion against him. Now, what is an editor's most important duty, gentlemen? Is it not to work in harmony with his readers, to reflect their opinion? Has he not received a sort of implied mandate to work persistently to support the viewpoints of those whose opinions he represents? Am I mistaken in that?
No, you are quite right.
No.
It has cost me a difficult struggle to break with a man in whose house I have lately been a frequent dinner guest. A man who, till today, has had the undivided goodwill of his fellow citizens. A man whose only essential failing is that he is swayed by his heart rather than his head. But it is my duty to the community, leaves me no choice but to break with him. And there is another reason that impels me to oppose him, as far as possible, to divert him from the perilous course he has adopted. And that is the lack of consideration for his family.
Please stick to the water supply and the drainage, please.
Consideration, I repeat, for his wife and his sons and his daughter, for whose welfare he has ignored.
I will now put the mayor's proposal to the vote.
No, there's no need. Tonight I have no intention of talking about all the filth down at the baths. No. I have something quite different to say to you.
What is coming now?
I am a ratepayer, and therefore I have a right to speak too, and my entire firm...
Be quiet at the back there.
Opinion.
Be quiet at the back.
He's drunk. Turn him out.
Am I allowed to speak?
Dr. Stockman will address the meeting.
Thank you. Until a few days ago, if anyone dared to attempt to silence me as has been done tonight, I would have defended my sacred rights as a man. Like a lion, I would have. But now it is clear that I have something of even weightier importance to say to you. I have thought and pondered a great deal these last few days, pondered over such a variety of things that in the end my head seemed about to explode. But I got them clear in my mind at last, and then I saw the whole situation lucidly. And that is why I'm standing here tonight. I have a great revelation to make to you, my fellow citizens. I will impart to you a discovery of a far wider scope than the trifling matter of our water supply being poisoned and our medicinal baths are standing on pestiferous soil.
Don't talk about the baths.
No, we won't hear you.
None of that.
Don't talk
No.
about the baths.
No. What I want to speak about is this great discovery I've made lately. No, the discovery that all sources of moral life are poisoned and that the whole civic community is founded on the pestiferous soil of falsehood.
What is he saying?
Such an accusation.
I call upon the speaker to moderate his language.
Oh, no. I have always loved my native town, as a man can love only the home of his youth. I was not old when I went away from here, no, and my longing and my memories cast an additional longing for both the town and its people. And there I stayed for many years in a horrible hellhole far away up north. When I came into contact with some of the people that live scattered among the rocks, well, I often thought that I would have been more service to the poor half-starved creatures if a veterinary doctor had been sent up there instead.
I'm damned if I have ever heard anything so ridiculous.
That is an insult to a
Right?
respectable population.
No, wait a minute. I don't think anyone will charge me with having forgotten my native town up there. I was like one of the mother ducks, brooding on her nest, and what I hatched was the plan for the baths. And then, when fate at last decreed for me the great happiness of coming home again, I thought I had nothing more in the world to wish for. Or rather, there was one thing I did wish for, and find that I was able to be of service to my native town and the good of my community.
You chose a strange way of doing it.
And so, with my eyes blinded to the real facts, I reveled in happiness. But yesterday morning, no, to be precise, it was yesterday afternoon, the eyes of my mind were opened wide, and the first thing I realized was the colossal stupidity of the authorities.
By virtue of my authority,
It is a petty thing to catch me up on one word, Mr. Aslakson. What I mean is only that I got a sense of the unbelievable self-interest our leading men have been responsible for down at the baths. I mean, I can't stand politicians or our community leaders. They are like billy goats on a young plantation. They do mischief everywhere. They stand in a free man's way, whichever way he turns, and what I should like best would be to see them eliminated like any other vermin.
Dr. Stockman,
I cannot understand how it is that I have only now acquired a clear conception of what these gentry are, when I am almost daily before my eyes in this town such an excellent specimen of them. My brother Peter, slow-witted and hidebound in prejudice.
Is it me he's talking about? My name's Peterson, all right, but devil take me if I...
Turn out that drunken man! Turn him out!
Who was that person?
I don't know who he is, Mr. Mayor.
He doesn't belong here. He's a day laborer.
he had obviously too much beer. Proceed, Doctor, but please strive to be moderate in your language.
Very well, gentlemen. I will say no more about the leading men of our community. And if anyone imagines from what I have just said that my object is to attack these people this evening, well, he is wrong, absolutely wrong. For I cherish the comforting conviction that these parasites, or these venerable relics of a dying world, are most admirably paving the way for their own extinction. They need no doctor's help to hasten their end. No, nor is it the folk of that kind who constitute the most pressing danger to this community. No, it is not they who are most instrumental in poisoning the sources of our moral life and infecting the ground on which we stand. It is not they who are the most dangerous enemies of truth and freedom among us.
Who then?
Who is it?
The names.
Who is it?
You may depend upon it. I shall name them. That is precisely the great discovery I made yesterday. The most dangerous enemy of truth and freedom among us is the majority. Yes, the damned compact liberal majority. That is it. Now you know.
Oh!
As chairman, I call upon the speaker to withdraw the ill-considered expressions he has just used.
Oh, never, Mr. Aslakson. It is the majority in our community that denies me my freedom and seeks to prevent me from speaking the truth.
The majority always has right on its side.
And truth, too, by God.
The majority never has right on its side. Never, I say. That is one of the lies against which an independent, intelligent man must wage war. Who is it that constitutes the majority of the population in the country? Is it the clever folk or the stupid? I don't imagine you will dispute the fact that at present the stupid people are an absolutely overwhelming majority all the world over. But good Lord, you can never pretend that it is right that the stupid folk should govern the clever ones, huh? Yes. You can shout me down, I know, but you cannot answer me. The majority has might on its side, unfortunately, but right it has not, and I am in the right. I and a few other scattered individuals like me. The minority is always in the right.
Aha! So, Dr. Stockman has become an aristocrat in the last 2 days.
I have already said that I don't intend to waste my breath on the narrow-minded, short-winded crowd who are behind us. They do not follow reality. I am supporting the scattered few amongst us who accept new and stronger truths. Such men stand at the forefront so far ahead that the majority has not yet been able to come to grips and understand them.
So the doctor is a revolutionary now.
Of course I am, Mr. Hovstad. I propose to start a revolution against the lie that the majority has the monopoly of the truth. What sort of truths does the majority usually support? Well, they are truths that are so ancient they are beginning to crumble. And if a truth is as old as that, well, it is also ready to become a lie. Yes, believe me or not, but truths are not as long-lived as Methuselah, as some folk imagine. A normal truth lives, well, let us say as a rule, maybe 17 or 18 or at most 20 years, seldom longer. But truths as old as that are always worn and weak. Nevertheless, it is only then that the majority recommends them to the community as wholesome moral nourishment. There is no great nutritional value in that sort of meat, that sort of meal. I can assure you, as a doctor, I ought to know. Yes, these majority truths are like last year's cured meat, like rancid, tainted ham, and they are the origin of the moral scurvy that is rampant in our communities.
It appears to me that the speaker is wandering a long way from his subject.
I quite agree with the chairman.
Have you gone clean out of your mind, Peter? I am sticking as closely to my subject as I can. For my subject is precisely this, that it is the masses, the majority, this infernal majority that poisons the sources of our moral life and infects the ground that we stand on.
And all this because the great broad-minded majority of the people is prudent enough to show belief in only well-accepted truths that have been accepted for years.
My good Mr. Hovstad, don't talk nonsense about long-accepted truths. The truths of which the masses now approve of are the very truths that were adopted by the revolutionary thinkers in the days of our grandfathers. We revolutionary thinkers of the present no longer accept them. And I do not believe that there is any undisputed truth except this, that no community can live a healthy life if it is nourished only on old, expired, no longer accurate truths.
But instead of standing there using vague generalizations, it would be interesting if you would tell us what specific old, expired, no longer accurate truths that we are nourished on.
Well, I could give you a whole list of such abominations. But to begin with, I will confine myself to one no longer accurate truth, which is now a foul lie, even though Mr. Hovstad and the People's Messenger and his subscribers continue to accept it.
And that is?
That is the doctrine that you have inherited from your forefathers and proclaim thoughtlessly far and wide. The doctrine that the public, the crowd, the masses are the most essential, the most important part of the population. That they are the people. That the common folk, that the ignorant and unthinking people in the community have the same right to judge, to approve, and to govern as their fewer intellectual superiors.
Well, damn me.
Fellow citizens, take good note of that.
Oh, we are not the people.
Only the superior folk are supposed to govern, are they? Throw them out for such disgusting garbage.
Blow your horn, Evanson.
Be reasonable. Can't you stand hearing the voice of truth for once? I don't in the least expect you to agree with me all at once, but I did expect Mr. Hovstad to admit I was right when he recovered his composure a little. He claims to be a free thinker, you know.
Free thinker. Free thinker.
You prove that, Dr. Stockman. When have I ever said so in print?
Well, no, you're right. You have never had the courage to. Well, I won't put you in a hole, Mr. Hofstad. Let us say that I am a free thinker then, that I am going to prove to you scientifically that the people's messenger leads you by the nose in a shameful manner when it tells you that the common people, the crowd, the masses, are the real importance of the people. That is only a newspaper lie, I tell you. The common people are nothing more than the raw material from which greater individuals may be created. Well, isn't that the case? Isn't there an enormous difference between a well-bred hen and an ill-bred strain of old fowl like that? Well, take for instance a common hen. What sort of eating do you get from a shriveled up old fowl like that? Not much, do you? And what sort of eggs does it lay? Well, a fairly good crow can lay pretty nearly good as an egg. But then take a well-bred Spanish or Japanese hen, or a good pheasant or a turkey, and then you will see the difference. Or take the case of dogs with whom we humans are so close. Think first of a feral dog living in the streets, one of the horrible, flea-bitten, low-bred curs that do nothing but run about the streets and befoul the walls of the houses. Well, compare one of these curs with a poodle whose sires for many generations have been bred in a gentleman's house where they have had the best of food and had the opportunity of hearing soft voices and music. Do you not think that the poodle's brain is developed quite differently from that of the cur? Well, of course it is. It is puppies of the well-bred poodles like that showmen train to do incredible, clever tricks. Things that the common cur could never learn to do, even if it stood on its head.
Are you calling us dogs now?
We are not animals, Doctor.
Oh, yes, we are, my friend. We are the finest animals anyone could wish for. But among us animals, there are very few that are well-bred. There is a tremendous difference between those among us who are poodles and those among us who are curs on the street. And the amusing part of that is that Mr. Hovstad quite agrees with me as long as it is a question of four-footed animals.
Yes, it is true enough as far as they are concerned.
Well, very well. But as soon as I extend the principle to two-legged animals, Mr. Hofstad refuses to accept it. He no longer dares to think independently or pursue the comparison to its logical conclusion. No, instead, he states the opposite. He proclaims in the people's messenger that it is the barn dog hens and the street curs that are the finest specimens of the community. But that is the only way, as long as a man cannot recognize the intellectual superiority of those citizens above that status.
I lay no claim to any sort of such class distinction. I am the son of humble country folk, and I am proud of the stock I come from. It's rooted deep among the common people that you insult.
Bravo, Hofstad!
Bravo, Hofstad. Bravo.
The kind of common people I mean are not only to be found low down on the social scale, they crawl and swarm all around us, even in the highest social positions. You have only to look at your own fine, distinguished mayor. My brother Peter is every bit as representative of the common people as anyone that walks in two shoes. And that not because he is like myself, descended from some old rascal of a pirate or thereabouts, because that, you know, is who we are descended from.
This is an absurd legend. I deny it.
No, but because he thinks what his superiors think and holds the same opinions that they do. People who do that are, intellectually speaking, common people. That is why my magnificent brother Peter is, in reality, a common member of the masses without distinction and far from being liberal-minded.
Mr. Chairman!
So, it is only the learned men that are liberal-minded in this country? We are all learning something quite new.
Yes. That is part of my new discovery too. And another part of it is that broad-mindedness is almost exactly the same thing as morality. That is why it is absolutely inexcusable for the people's messenger to proclaim every day the false doctrine that it is the masses, the crowd, the majority that have a monopoly on broad-mindedness and morality. And that vice and corruption and every kind of intellectual depravity are the result of culture just oozing out like all the filth that is draining into our baths as a result of the tanneries up in Mollerdal. And yet this same people's messenger can go on preaching that the masses deserve to be elevated into the highest conditions of society. But bless my soul, if the messenger's position happens to be true, then this raising up the masses will be nothing more than setting them straightway upon the path of moral failure. But happily, the theory that culture leads to immorality is only an old-fashioned falsehood that our forefathers believed in. No, it is ignorance, poverty, the ugly conditions of life that they do the devil's work. And a house which does not get fresh air and is swept every day. My wife Katherine maintains that the floor ought to be scrubbed as well, but that is her opinion. In such a house. But let me tell you, the people will lose within 2 or 3 years the power of thinking or acting in a moral manner. Lack of oxygen weakens the conscience. And there must be a lack of clean air in very many houses in this town, judging from the fact that the majority can lack conscience enough that they wish to build the town's prosperity on a quagmire of falsehood and deceit.
We cannot allow such an accusation to be flung at our community.
I move that the chairman direct the speaker to sit down.
Hear, hear.
Make
Yes.
him sit down.
Then I will go and I will shout the truth at every street corner. I will write it in other towns' newspapers. This whole country shall know what is going on here.
It seems that Dr. Stockman's intention is to ruin this town.
Yes, my native town is so dear to me that I would rather ruin it than see it flourishing upon a lie.
How dare you!
A man must be a public enemy to wish to ruin a whole community.
What does the destruction of a community matter if it lives on lies? It ought to be razed to the ground. All who live by lies ought to be eliminated like vermin, or else you will wind up infecting the whole country. You will bring about such a state of things that the whole country will deserve to be ruined. And if things come to that pass, well, I shall say from the bottom of my heart, let the whole country perish. Let all these people be eliminated.
You are speaking like an enemy of the people.
Yes, you are the voice of the
Yes,
people.
yes,
By all
yes,
that's
yes.
holy.
He is an enemy of the people.
Hates his country.
He hates his own people.
Both as a citizen and as an individual, I am profoundly disturbed by what we have had to listen to. Dr. Stockman has shown himself in a light I should never have dreamed of. I happily agree with the opinion which I have just heard my esteemed fellow citizens express, and I propose that we should support that opinion in a resolution. I propose a resolution as follows. This meeting declares that it considers Dr. Thomas Stockman, medical officer of the Baths, to be an enemy of the people.
Oh, you fools! I tell you that!
Doctor, a formal vote is about to be taken, but out of regard for personal feelings, it shall be by a ballot and not by voice vote. Have you any clean paper, Mr. Billing?
Yes, I have both the blue and the white right here.
That will do nicely. They shall be done quicker that way. Cut it up into small strips. Blue means no, white means yes. I shall come round and collect the votes myself.
What has happened to the doctor? What are we to think of this?
Oh, you know how temperamental he is.
Billing, you spend time at their house. Have you ever noticed if the fellow drinks?
Well, I'm hanged if I know what to say. There are always spirits on the table when I go there.
I think that he just loses his head sometimes.
I wonder if there's any madness in the family.
Probably.
No, it's nothing more than sheer malice. He wants to get even with somebody for something or other.
Well, he certainly suggested a rise in his salary on one occasion recently and did not get it.
Ah, that's what this is about.
Mr. Kiil? Mr. Kiil?
Oh! Yes, well, Stockman, did you see what these monkeying around has led to?
Well, I've done my duty.
What was that you said about the tanneries at Mollydal?
Well, you heard well enough. I said they were the source of the filth.
My tannery, too?
Unfortunately, your tannery is by far the worst.
Are you going to put that in the paper?
I shall conceal nothing.
That may cost you dearly, Stockman.
Well, Captain Horster, so you lend your house to enemies of the people.
I imagine I can do what I like with my own possessions.
Then you can have no objection to me doing the same with mine.
What do you mean?
You shall hear from me in the morning.
Was that not your owner, Captain Horster?
Yes, that was Mr. Vic, the ship owner.
Gentlemen, allow me to announce the result. By votes of everyone except one person.
That is the drunk fellow.
By the votes of everyone except one tipsy man, this meeting of citizens declares Dr. Thomas Stockman to be an enemy of the people.
Oh.
3 cheers for our ancient and honorable citizen community. 3 cheers for our able and energetic mayor who has so loyally set aside his family for the good of his people. This meeting is dissolved.
3 cheers for the chairman.
3 cheers for Aslakson! Hurrah!
Hurrah! Hurrah!
My hat and coat, Petra. Captain, have you room on your ship for passengers in the New World?
For you and your family, we will make room, Doctor.
Good. Come, Katherine. Petra.
Thomas, dear, let us go out by the back way.
Oh, no back ways for me, Katherine. You will hear more of the enemy of the people before he shakes the dust off his shoes upon you. I am not so forgiving as a certain person. I do not say, I forgive you, for ye know not what you do.
That is a blasphemous comparison, Dr. Stockman. It is. By God, it's dreadful for a respectable man to listen to.
Threatens us now, does he?
Oh, let's go and break his windows.
Dog him in the fjord. Enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people.
Yes.
Well, I'm damned if I'm going to go drink toddy with the Stockmans tonight.
Mm.
Enemy of the
people. Enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people.
And now we come to Act number 5. Katherine, I found another one.
Oh, you will find a lot more yet, I expect.
I shall treasure these stones as relics. Our sons, Edgeliffe and Morton, shall look at them every day, and when they are grown up, they shall inherit them as heirlooms. What is her name? Yeah, the girl, you know, though. Hasn't she been to bring the glazed glass here yet?
Yes, but he said he didn't know if he would be able to come today.
You see, he won't dare to come.
Well, that is just what Randine thought, that he didn't dare to, on account of the neighbors. Here's a letter for you, Thomas.
Well, let me see it. Ah, yes, of course.
Who is it from?
It's from the landlord, eviction notice.
Oh, is it possible? Such a nice man.
Does not dare do otherwise, he says. Doesn't like doing it, but he dares not do it otherwise on account of his fellow citizens, out of regard for public opinion. And it is in a dependent position, does not dare offend influential men.
There, so you see, Thomas.
Oh, yes, I see well enough. Everyone in this town are cowards. Not a man among them dares to do anything for fear of the others. But it doesn't matter to us, Katherine. We are going to sail away to the new world, and then...
Well, Thomas, are you sure we should do this?
Are you suggesting that I should stay here, where they have branded me as an enemy of the people and broken my windows? And just look here, Katherine. They've torn a great big rip in my black trousers, too.
Oh, dear, and they are the best pair you've got.
You know, you should never wear your best trousers when you go out to fight for freedom and truth. You know, it's not that I care so much about the trousers, you know. You can always sew them up again for me. But that the common herd should dare to make this attack on me as if they were my equal. Well, that is what I cannot for the life of me accept.
There is no doubt they have behaved very ill towards you, Thomas. But is that sufficient reason for our leaving our native country for good?
If we went to another town, do you suppose we should not find the common people just as ignorant as they are here? Oh, you can depend upon it. There is not much to choose between them. Oh, well, let the dog snap. That is not the worst part of it. The worst part of it is that from one end of this country to the other, every man is a slave of his majority. Although as far as that goes, I'm not sure I don't think it's that much better in the free world, in the free West either. The rule of the majority and the so-called liberal public opinion and all that garbage are probably rampant there too. But there things are done on a larger scale, you see. There they may kill you, but they won't put you to death by slow torture. You know, they don't squeeze a free man's soul in a vise like they do here. And if need be, one can live in solitude. If only I knew where there was a virgin forest or a small South Sea island for sale cheap.
Oh, but think of the boys, Thomas.
What a strange woman you are, Katherine. Would you prefer to have the boys grow up in a society like this? I mean, you saw for yourself last night that half the population are out of their minds, and if the other half has not lost their senses, it is because they are mere idiots with no sense to lose.
But Thomas, dear, the imprudent things you said had something to do with it, you know.
Well, isn't what I said exactly true? I mean, don't they turn every idea topsy-turvy? Don't they make a regular mixed bag out of right and out of wrong? Don't they say that the things that I know are true are lies? You know, the craziest part of it is that these liberals, these adult men going about in crowds, imagining that they are the broad-minded majority. Did you ever hear anything like it, Katherine?
Yes, it's mad enough of them, certainly, but I mean... Oh, Petra, back from school already?
Yes, I have been given a notice of dismissal.
Dismissal?
You too?
Mrs. Busk gave me my notice, so I thought it was best to go at once.
You were perfectly right, too.
Who would have thought Mrs. Busk was a woman like that?
Mrs. Busk isn't a bit like that, Mother. I saw quite plainly how it hurt her to do it. But she didn't dare do otherwise, she said, and so I got my notice.
She didn't dare do otherwise either. Oh, it's delicious.
Well, after the dreadful scenes last night...
It was not only that, though. Just listen to this, Father.
Well?
Mrs. Busk showed me more than 3 letters she received this morning.
Anonymous, I suppose.
Yes.
Well, yes, because they didn't dare to risk signing their names.
And 2 of them were to the effect that a man, who has been our guest here, was declaring last night at the club that my views on various subjects are extremely emancipated.
Oh, you did not deny that, I hope.
No, you know I wouldn't. Mrs. Busk's own views are tolerably emancipated when we are alone together, but now that this report about me is being spread, she dare not keep me on any longer.
And someone who has been a guest of ours. That shows you the return you get for your hospitality, Thomas.
Well, we won't live in such a disgusting hole any longer. Pack up as quickly as you can, Katherine. The sooner we get away, the better.
Be quiet. I think I hear someone in the hall. See who it is, Petra.
Oh, it's you, Captain Horster. Do come in.
Good morning. I thought I would just come in and see how you were.
Thank you. That's really kind of you.
And thank you, too, for helping us through the crowd, Captain Horster.
How did you manage to get home again?
Oh, somehow or other. I'm fairly strong, and there's more sound than fury about these folk.
Yes, isn't their cowardice astonishing? I mean, look here. I will show you something. These are the type of stones that they have thrown through my windows. Just look at them. I'll be damned if there are more than 2 decently large bits of hard stone in this whole heap. The rest are nothing but gravel, wretched little things. And yet they stood out there bawling and swearing that they would do some violence. As for doing anything, you don't see too much of that in this town.
This is well for you this time, Doctor.
Well, that's true enough. But it makes one angry all the same. Because if someday it should be a question of a real national fight, you will see that the public opinion will be in favor of doing nothing, and the majority will turn tail like a flock of sheep. That is what is so disgraceful to think about. It gives me so much concern that, nah, forget it. It's ridiculous to care about it. After all, they've called me an enemy of the people, so an enemy of the people, let me be.
Oh, you'll never be that, Thomas.
Now, don't swear to that, Katherine. To be called an ugly name may have the same effect as a pin scratch in the lung. And that hateful name, well, I can't get quite quit of it. It is sticking here in the pit of my stomach, eating into me like a corrosive acid, and no magnesia will remove it.
You should only laugh at them, Father.
They will change their minds someday, Doctor.
Yes, Thomas, as sure as you're standing here.
Perhaps, when it is too late. Much good may it do them then. They may wallow in their filth and rue the day when they drove a patriot into exile. So when do you sail, Captain Horster?
That was just what I had come to speak about.
Why? Has anything gone wrong with the ship?
No, but what has happened is that I am not to sail in it.
Do you mean that you have been dismissed from your command?
Yes, that's just it.
You too.
There, you see, Thomas?
And for truth's sake. Oh, if I had thought that such a thing were possible.
You mustn't take it to heart. I shall be sure to find a job with some ship owner or other elsewhere.
And that is this man, Vic. A wealthy man, independent of everyone and everything. Well, shame on him.
He is quite an excellent fellow otherwise. He told me himself he would willingly have kept me on if only he had dared.
Well, he didn't dare. No, of course not.
It's not such an easy matter, he said, for a party man.
Well, the worthy man spoke the truth. A party is like a sausage machine. It mashes up all sorts of heads together into the same mincemeat. Fatheads and blockheads, all in one mash.
Oh, come, Thomas dear.
Captain Horster, if only you had not come home with us, things might not have come to this.
I do not regret it.
Well, thank you for that.
And so, Dr. Stockman, what I came to say was that if you are determined to go away, I have thought of another plan.
Well, that's wonderful. If only we can get away at once.
Hush! Wasn't that someone knocking?
That is Uncle, surely.
Aha! Come in.
Oh, dear Thomas, promise me definitely.
Oh, you have company. In that case, I will go.
Oh, no, come in.
But I wanted to speak to you alone.
We will go into the sitting room in the meanwhile.
And I will look in again later.
No, go in with them, Captain Horster. I want to hear more about...
Very well. I will wait then.
I will suspect you'll find it rather drafty here today, Peter. Put your hat on.
Thank you, if I may. I think I caught cold last night. I stood and shivered.
Really? Well, I found it warm enough.
I regret, Thomas, that it was not in my power to prevent those reactions last night.
Have you anything in particular to say to me besides that?
I have this document for you from the Baths Committee.
My dismissal?
Yes, dating from today. It gives us pain to do it, but to speak frankly, we dared not do it otherwise on account of public opinion.
You dared not. I seem to have heard that phrase before today.
I must beg you to understand your position clearly. For the future, you must not count on any practice whatever in the town.
Hang the practice? But why are you so sure of that?
The Property Owners Association is circulating a list from house to house. All right-minded citizens are being called upon to give up employing you, and I can assure you that not a single head of a family will risk refusing his signature. They simply dare not.
No, well, I don't doubt that. But what then?
If I might advise you, it would be best to leave this place for a little while.
Well, yes, the option of leaving this place has occurred to me.
Good. And then, when you have had 6 months to think things over, with mature consideration, you might persuade yourself to write a few words of regret, acknowledging your error.
And I might have my appointment restored to me?
Perhaps. It is not at all impossible.
But what about public opinion then? Surely you would not dare to do it on account of public opinion.
Public opinion is an extremely changeable thing. And to be quite candid with you, it is a matter of great importance to us to have some admission of that sort from you in writing.
Oh, so that is what you're after, is it? Well, I will just trouble you to remember what I said to you lately about tricks of that sort.
Your position was quite different then. At that time, you had reason to suppose you had the whole town at your back.
Well, yes, now I feel like I have the whole town on my back. Well, I would not do it if I had the devil and his dam on my back. Never, never, I tell you.
A man with a family has no right to behave as you do. You have no right to do it, Thomas.
I have no right. There is only one single thing in the world a free man has no right to do. And do you know what that is, Peter?
No.
Of course you don't. But I will tell you. A free man has no right to soil himself with filth. He has no right to behave in a way that would justify his spitting in his own face.
This sort of thing sounds extremely plausible, of course, and if there were no other explanation for your pig-headedness, but as it happens, there is.
What do you mean?
You understand very well what I mean. But as your brother and as a man of discretion, I advise you not to build too much upon expectations and prospects that may so very easily fail you.
What in the world is this about?
You really ask me to believe that you are ignorant of the terms of Mr. Kiil's will?
Well, I know that the small amount he possesses is to go to an institution for indigent old laborers. Well, how does that concern me?
In the first place, it is by no means a small amount that is in question. Mr. Kiil is a fairly wealthy man.
I never knew that.
Hadn't you really?
No.
Then I suppose you had no notion either that a considerable portion of his wealth will come to your children, you, and your wife. Has he never told you so?
Well, never on my honor. I mean, quite the reverse. He has consistently done nothing but fume at being so heavily taxed. But you're perfectly certain of this, Peter?
I have it from an absolutely reliable source.
Oh, and thank God! Katherine is provided for, and the children too. Oh, I must tell her this at once. Katherine! Katherine!
No, don't say a word.
What is the matter?
Nothing, dear. Just, you can go back. Provided for. Oh, just think of it. We are all provided for, and for life. What a blessed feeling it is to know that one is provided for.
Yes, but that is just exactly what you are not. Mr. Kiil can alter his will any day he likes.
Oh, but he won't do that. The badger is much too delighted in my attack on you and your wise friends.
That throws a light on various things.
What things?
I see now that the whole thing was a combined maneuver on your part and his. These violent, reckless attacks that you have made against the leading men of the town under the pretense that it was in the name of truth.
Well, what about them?
I see that they were nothing else than the stipulated price for that vindictive old man's will.
Peter, you are the most disgusting person I have ever met in my life.
All is over between us. Your dismissal is irrevocable. We have a weapon against you now.
For shame. For shame. Katherine, you must have the floor scrubbed after him. What's her name? The girl who always has soot on her nose.
Oh, hush, Thomas, be quiet.
Father, grandfather is here asking if he may speak to you alone.
Certainly he may. Come in, Mr. Kiil. What can I do for you? Won't you sit down?
I won't sit. You look very comfortable here today, Thomas.
Oh, yes, don't we?
Very comfortable. Plenty of fresh air.
Hmm.
I should think you have got enough today of that oxygen you were talking about yesterday. Your conscience must be in splendid order today, I should think.
Well, it is.
So I should think. Do you know what I have got here?
Well, a good conscience, too, I hope.
Bah! It is something better than that.
Let me see. Shares in the baths?
They were not difficult to get today.
And you've been buying them?
As many as I could pay for.
But my dear Mr. Kiil, consider the state of the bath's affairs.
If you behave like a reasonable man, you can soon set the baths on their feet again.
Well, you can see for yourself that I've done all I can, but they are all mad in this town.
You said yesterday that the worst of this pollution came from my tannery. If that is true, then my grandfather and my father before me, and I myself for many years past, have been poisoning the town like 3 destroying angels. You think I am going to sit quiet under that reproach?
Well, unfortunately, I'm afraid you'll have to.
No, thank you. I am jealous of my name and reputation. They call me the Badger. I am told a badger is a kind of pig, I believe, but I am not going to give them the right to call me that. I mean to live and die a clean man.
And how are you going to set about it?
You shall cleanse me, Thomas.
Cleanse you? I?
Do you know what money I have bought these shares with? No. Of course you don't know. But I will tell you. It is the money that Katherine and Petra and the boys will have when I am gone. Because I have been able to save a little bit after all, you know.
And you've gone and taken Katherine's money for this?
Yes, the whole of the money is invested in the baths now. And now I just want to see whether you are quite stark, staring mad. Thomas, if you still make out these animals and other nasty things of that sort come from my tannery, it will be exactly as if you were to flay broad strips of skin from Katherine's body, and Petra's, and the boys, and no decent man would do that. Unless he were mad.
I am mad.
You cannot be so absurdly mad as all that when it is a question of your wife and children.
Why couldn't you consult me about it before you went and bought all those shares?
What is done cannot be undone.
If only I were not so certain about it, but I'm absolutely convinced that I am right.
If you stick to your mad idea, the stock won't be worth much, you know.
But it might be possible for science to discover some prophylactic treatment, I should think, or some antidote of some kind.
To kill these animals, do you mean?
Oh, yes, or to make them innocuous.
Couldn't you try some rat poison?
Oh, don't talk such nonsense. They all say it's only imagination, Well, let it go at that. Well, let them have their own way about it. Haven't the ignorant, narrow-minded curs reviled me as an enemy of the people? Haven't they been ready to tear the clothes off my back, too?
And broken all your windows to pieces.
Yeah, and then there is my duty to my family. I must talk it over with Katherine. She is great on these things.
That is right. Be guided by a reasonable woman's advice.
To think you could do such a preposterous thing. Risking Katherine's money in this way and putting me in such a horribly painful dilemma. When I look at you, I think I see the devil himself.
Well, then I had better go. But I must have an answer from you before 2 o'clock. Yes or no? If it is no, the shares go to a charity this very day.
And what does Katherine get?
Not a half-crown. Look at those two.
What the devil have you actually the gall to come to my house for?
Certainly.
We have something to say to you, you see.
Yes or no? Before 2.
Well, what do you want with me? Be brief.
I can quite understand that you are annoyed with us for our attitude at the meeting yesterday.
Attitude, do you call it? Oh, yes. I think it was a charming attitude. I call it weak and shameful.
Call it what you like. We could not do otherwise.
You dared not do otherwise, isn't that it?
Well, if you like to put it that way.
Why did you not let us have word of it beforehand? Just a hint. Mr. Hovstad, or to me.
A hint of what?
What was behind it all?
I don't understand you in the least.
Oh, yes, you do, Dr. Stockman.
It is no good making a mystery of it any longer.
What the devil do you two both mean?
May I ask if your father-in-law is not going around the town buying up all the shares in the baths?
Yes, he has been buying shares from the baths today, but...
It would have been more prudent to get someone else to do it. Someone not clearly related to you.
And you should not have let your name appear in the affair. There was no need for anyone to know the attack on the baths came from you. You ought to have consulted me, Dr. Stockman.
Are such things possible? Are such things conceivable?
Evidently they are. But it is better to use a little finesse,
And it is much better to have several persons in a thing of that sort, because then the responsibility of each individual is lessened when there are others with him.
Come to the point, gentlemen. What do you want?
Perhaps Mr. Hovstad had better...
No, you tell him, Mr. Aslakson.
Well, the fact is that now we know the truth of the whole affair, we think we might venture to put the People's Magazine at your disposal.
Oh, do you dare do that now? What about public opinion? Are you not afraid of a storm breaking over your heads?
We will try to weather it.
Oh, and you must be ready to go off quickly on a new tack, Doctor, as soon as your accusations have done their work.
Do you mean as soon as my father-in-law and I have got hold of the shares at a low figure?
Oh, your reasons for wishing to get control of the baths are mainly scientific, I take it?
Well, of course it was for scientific reasons that I persuaded the old badger to stand with me in the matter. So we will tinker at the conduit pipe a little and dig up a little bit on the shore, and it shall not cost the town a fortune. That'll be all right, huh?
I think so, if you have the people's messenger behind you.
The press is a power in a free community, Doctor.
Oh, absolutely. And so is public opinion. And you, Mr. Aslakson, well, I suppose you will be answerable to the Property Owners Association?
Yes, and for the Temperance Society. You may rely on that.
Oh, but gentlemen, I am really ashamed to ask this question, but what return do you receive?
Well, we should prefer to help you without any return whatever, believe me. But the People's Messenger is in rather a shaky condition, and I should be very unwilling to suspend the paper now when there is so much work to do here in the political arena.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, that would be a great trial to such a friend of the people as you are. But I am an enemy of the people, remember? Where have I put my stick? Where the devil is my stick?
What's that?
Surely you don't mean...
And suppose I don't give you a single penny of all that I get out of this. Money is not very easy to get out of the rich people, remember?
And please remember that the matter of the shares can be represented in two ways.
Oh, yes, and you are the man to do it. If I don't come to the rescue of the People's Messenger, you will certainly take an evil view of this matter. You will hunt me down, pursue me, and try to throttle me as a dog does a rabbit.
It is a natural law. Every animal must fight for its own survival.
And get its food where it can, you know.
Well, then you can go and look for yours in the gutter, because I am going to show you which is the strongest animal out there.
You are surely not going to use violence.
Take care what you are doing with that umbrella.
Out of the window with you, Mr. Hovstad.
Are you crazy?
Out of the window with you, Mr. Aslakson. Out of the window. Jump, I tell you. You will have to do it sooner or later.
Moderation, Doctor. I am a delicate man. I can stand so little. Help! Help!
Oh, good gracious, Thomas. What is happening?
Jump out, I tell you. Out into the gutter.
An assault on an innocent man. You are my witness, Captain Horster.
Only I knew my way out of here.
Oh, control yourself, Thomas.
Oh, well, they have escaped after all.
What did they want you to do?
I'll tell you later on. I have a message to write now. Look here, Katherine. What does it say? What is written here?
Well, 3 big no's. What does that mean?
I'll tell you that later, too. Petra, tell Sooty Face to run over to the Badgers with that and do it as quick as she can. Hurry up. Well, I think I have had a visit from every one of the devil's messengers today, but now I'm going to sharpen my pen till they can feel its point. I shall dip it in venom and gall. I shall hurl my inkpot at their heads.
Yes, but we are going away, you know, Thomas.
Well?
She is gone with it.
Good. Going away, did you say? No, I'll be damned if we are going away. We are going to stay right where we are, Katherine.
Stay here?
Here? In the town?
Yes, here, in the field of battle. This is where the fight will be. This is where I shall triumph. As soon as I have had my trousers sewn up, I shall go out and look for another house. We must have a roof over our heads for the winter.
That you shall have in my house.
Well, can I?
Yes, quite well. I have plenty of room, and I am almost never at home.
Oh, how good of you, Captain Horster.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That is one trouble solved. And now I can set to work in earnest at once. There are an endless supply of things to look through here, Katherine. Luckily, I shall have all the time at my disposal because I've been dismissed from the baths, you know.
Oh, yes. I expected that.
And they want me to take my practice with me, too. Take my practice away. Well, let them. I have got the poor people to fall back on. Anyway, you know, they don't pay anything, but after all, they need me most, too. They will have to listen to me. I shall preach to them in season and out of season, as it says somewhere in Scripture.
But, dear Thomas, I should have thought events had shown you what use it is to preach.
Oh, you're really ridiculous, Katherine. Do you want me to let myself be beaten off the field by public opinion and the majority and all that evil? No, thank you. And what I want to do is so simple and clear and straightforward. I only want to drum into the heads of these curs the fact that the so-called liberal majorities are the most insidious enemies of freedom. That party programs strangle every young and vigorous truth. That considerations of expediency turn morality and justice upside down. And that such things will end up making life here unbearable. Don't you think, Captain Horster? That I ought to be able to make people understand that?
Very likely. I don't know much about such things myself.
Well, look here, I'll explain. It's the party leaders that must be eliminated. A party leader is like a wolf. You see, it's like a voracious wolf. He requires a certain number of smaller victims to prey upon every year, if he is to live. I mean, just look at Hovstad and Aslakson. How many smaller victims have they not put an end to? Or at any rate, maimed and mangled until they are fit for nothing except to be householders or subscribers to the People's Messenger. Come here, Katherine. Look how beautifully the sun shines outside today, and this lovely spring air that I am drinking in.
Yes, if only we could live on sunshine and spring air, Thomas.
Oh, you will have to pinch and save a bit, but we'll get along. And that gives me very little concern. What is much worse is that I know of no one who is liberal-minded and high-minded enough to venture to take up my work after me.
Let us hope that the wolves will not drive you out of the country, Thomas.
Out of your mind, Katherine? Drive me out? No. Now when I'm the strongest man in town?
The strongest? Now?
Yes, and I will go so far to say that now I am the strongest man in the whole world. I have made a great discovery.
Another one?
Yes. Let me tell you what it is. The strongest man in the world is he who stands most alone.
Oh, Thomas.
Father.
That is the end of the play. However, we hope that you have enjoyed this evening's Just a Stage I'm Going Through Productions performance of Henrik Ibsen's 1882 play, An Enemy of the People. I want to again recognize our players this evening. Katherine Stockman was played by Emlyn Altman. Petra was played by Sam Klarner. Peter Stockman was played by Joann Robertson. Hovstad was played by Bill MacDonald. Aslakson was played by Joe Rake. Billing was played by Jana Fisher. Morton Kiil was played by Ed Silverstein. And Captain Horseman was played by Steve Swift. And now our ensemble members. Sonny Oberlais, Nick Manicone, and Terri Hobson. I played Dr. Stockman. Our sound designer, I'm Stuart Fisher. I play Dr. Stockman, and I'm director of this production, as well as the founder of the Just a Stage I'm Going Through Productions. Our sound designer and executor for this production is Emlyn Altman. Our next production in late February will be a performance of a radio script from the CBS Mercury Theater on the Air, produced by Orson Welles. If you want early announcements of performance dates and audition opportunities, please check out Just a Stage I'm Going Through's Facebook page, or let me know how to contact you once this recording is ended. Until next time, we bid you all a good night, and we certainly bid you safety in these troubled times.